Okay. Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
What? 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 Okay, we're all going to sing now. Okay, everybody ready to sing? No. Okay. They're laughing in there too. Okay, let's see here. Okay, thank you very much. Well, this is weird. 2197. Yeah, I think I'm okay. So just if I go run out and get water or something, just flip this off and.
Yep.
Okay.
And if you do need to speak to me, you can either yell loud enough, I'll probably hear you, but my
Okay.
office is on the other side of the wall.
Okay.
I
Cool.
promise you can't miss me.
All right. Thanks, Robert. Appreciate it, man.
My pleasure.
Hey, Gabby, do you want me to, I don't personally need this, but I can have them check off their names and I can scan it to my KW email. And if they need it, if Judy needs it, I can just email it to her. I'll leave the original here too if you want. Or is that,
Okay.
or
We
is that
can,
your
we
own?
can put it here as well. Like
Oh, if that's your
all
own,
the-
yeah, because I know like at my marker center, we give them points for coming to class and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So if you use that, let's just do that then.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me go ahead and turn this.
And they can see you moving around.
Okay, good.
I double check.
All right, good. At least I didn't embarrass myself, right? Okay, everybody ready to get started?
Yes.
Well, first, I just want to say thanks for having me here to teach. I'm Gary Wilson. I'm a KW broker in 2 different KW regions and also a KW trained presenter. And I like being out here because I got family out here. Anybody ever spend a little time in Magnolia? Yeah, just a little bit kind of northwest of here. So one of my aunts lives there. I'm going to be going to stay with her next week. And I got family up in Frisco and Plano and stuff like that. And been generations going back to the 1800s. And some of my cousins and I have done some investing around here too. Houston historically has always been an awesome place to invest. Okay, actually, let's do this before we get into a lot of details. Raise your hand if you'd like to have your own investment real estate, like a big pile of rentals bringing in cash flow every month. That's like most of the people, right? Now, raise your hand if you are or have invested in the past. That's actually pretty good. It's usually a lot less than that, guys. I mean, maybe at the best, 20% of our agents have invested. So here's why this is important. Well, for a couple reasons. The consumer looks at us, agents. We're all agents. We're like, well, don't you guys invest yourself? Most agents say no because we don't. All right. And the other thing is this. When you work with owner-occupants, would you agree the way you work with owner-occupants is different than the way you work with investors?
Yeah.
Exactly. So the challenge is in the residential world, most of our training is focused on the owner-occupant because that's the bigger part of the business, at least historically, okay? So what I'm here to do today is I'm not actually here to teach you how to invest. I mean, we'll go over some of that stuff when it's appropriate, but I'm actually here to teach you how to work with investors. Actually, one more hand raise. Raise your hand if you've worked with investors. Okay, look at that. Anybody ever find it to be somewhat frustrating?
Yes.
They call you up and they'll say, you know, I'm working with 5 other agents, just go make me a bunch of offers. Go find me a good deal. How about that one? Yeah. Yes, yeah, what do you, go find me a good deal.
So if it's a really good deal, you're not going to hear about it.
That's right. Well, according, if you listen to Gary Keller, remember, was anybody at the last New Orleans family reunion, this one last year? On a Vision Day speech, remember, he stood up there and he said, we want you to buy a property a year for yourself. He also said that most agents, as these properties come across our desks, we just pass them on to the consumer. We never look at them for ourselves, right? And the theory is, if you think about traveling on an airplane, you know, when the stewardess at the beginning says, in the case of a cabin pressure loss, who do you put the mask on first? Yourself, right? So we generally don't do that. So what I'm here to do today is teach you how to work with investors. And by the way, it's the right kind of investors. We're not talking about the no money down owner financing stuff. Anybody remember a guy named Carlton Streets 5 o'clock in the morning years ago? Yeah. So I used to do that stuff. And people always ask me, does that stuff actually work? Because it looks like it's illegal and blah, blah, blah. It actually does work, okay? I did it for 17 years and had some success with it. But I can tell you this, it doesn't work very well. And the fact, I mean, if you think about it, if I make an offer to you, what's your first name? Isabel. Mm-hmm. Okay. If I make an offer to you, Isabel, to buy your house, and I don't want to put any money, I don't want to use my own money, and I want you to finance me. How you like that deal?
Well, yeah, I mean, there is no skin in the game for you.
That's right. So most people don't like those kind of offers, so it puts us at a disadvantage. What I'm here to do today is teach you how to work with a different type of investor. We call them the right kind of investors. They're almost always professionals in their fields, and quite frankly, a lot of them own businesses, like an orthodontist that owns their own orthodontic practice, okay? They have a business person's mind, and they look at investing through a business lens. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And I promise you, everybody here that wants to invest, when you treat investing like a business, you're going to be a lot more successful. For those of you who invested, would you agree? You'll be more successful. Run it like a business, okay? And for 2 reasons, by the way. Number 1, to help you get more commissions coming in. I mean, would more commissions help right now? Right? Just 3 of you? Everybody okay? So if you leverage your license, think of like my palm is your license or your palm is your license, and you've got owner-occupants, that's one good stream of business. But if you simply add some flippers and some landlords, wholesalers, which we don't personally advocate, but we do teach it, because you're being called from wholesalers. Who's been called from a wholesaler before? Right? It's going to happen, so we might as well teach you how to do it. And soon to come to KW, did you know that KW, Gary announced this on the Anaheim family reunion, that their property management is an incubation. Did you guys know that? Yeah. Amen. I'm ready for it, okay? Because I've done it before, and I know what it's, at first it wasn't fun, right? That's where all the gray hair came from. But I can tell you this, when you understand how the model works, you can make a lot of money with property management, okay? I'll talk about that later. So, in any case, does it sound like you're in the right room? Everybody in the right class? Okay? Yeah. All right, good. Let's go ahead and move on here. So, A little bit of housekeeping. Where's my phone? I'm going to lead the charge. If you could please put your phones on silent mode, that would be awesome. Really more for your neighbors than me. Okay, put them on silent mode. Oh, y'all do that too? Okay, so if your phone goes off, $10 at Catering Cares? You should see what it's like. And anybody ever go to Manhattan before, New York City? We have 2 market centers there, Midtown Manhattan and the Tribeca Market Center. The one in Midtown Manhattan, they actually confiscate your phone and they auction it off. And then the proceeds go to KW Cares. That happened when I was there one time teaching. And this poor guy was a brand new iPhone, and they actually auctioned it for $700. He had to pay $700 to get his phone back. So there's a tough crowd up there. Yep. It's funny because all the guys there was one group of guys in the back, and if I remember correctly, all their names were Nikki, Tony, Frankie, Louie, and Johnny. So, right? So in any case, so back to this. Definitely be present, be focused if you're going to be here. Give it your all. Give it every bit of energy you've got, okay? Because there's a lot of content in this class, which leads me to the next thing. Definitely want to take notes, okay? You want to take a lot of notes. So you should have hopefully something to write on or type on. You need some paper? You're okay? Okay. I've had people use their phones and things like that. Also take action. This is really critical. In fact, I'll give you a quote from one of my favorite heroes. All right, raise your hand if you know who John Maxwell is. Yeah, real neat guy. He spoke at our mega camp last year, and also in 2012 he spoke at that mega camp. That's where I met him, and he's got several books, obviously. But this one is near and dear to my heart. It's called Failing Forward. Anybody remember this book? Failing Forward is awesome, guys. So this is what he was talking about in 2012. And the point of the book is the fact that successful people keep taking action. They will make mistakes, but we just keep going. Does that make sense? In fact, the quote is from, actually not from John Maxwell, it's from Conrad Hilton. So John Maxwell, former pastor, I think he's still a pastor actually, but the quote's from Conrad Hilton, founder of Hilton Hotels, who says, success seems to be connected with action. Successful people keep taking action. I know it's a cliche because it's true. Think about anybody we know who's successful. Would you say they just read books and put them back on a shelf? God bless you. Well, the successful people read books and take action on what they learn. They take action, right? Now, when successful people take action, what do they get? Results. All right, now, when our clients get results, sorry, what do we get? Yay! Only one person got that. Come on, guys. We'll turn this into church real quick, raising our hands and everything. You know, actually, I had a minister tell me one time. He said, "Don't be shy around money. You'll scare it away." And the thing is, you can learn to build wealth and income. Just like a surgeon learns how to operate on a heart. There is an absolute set of principles you can learn to build wealth and income, particularly with real estate. There's models. There's all kinds of examples out there. I mean, use me if you want. I've had a lot of help. Matter of fact, I never got anywhere I got by myself. It was always with help. So the point is you can definitely do it, and that's probably partly why we're having the class here. In any case, you're going to get an email from Beverly probably tomorrow, because by the time we're done, she'll be gone. And it's going to contain links from today's class. It's going to contain a recording of one of the webinars. I do the webinars for the vendor every week. You're going to get one of those, and you're also going to get a copy of this, which is the second of 7 books I've written on the subject. You're going to get this electronically. It's the only book actually I've ever written that's been ranked number 1, though. It's the only one by my mom. I'll stick to my day job. Okay, so back to this. Look for the email. If you don't see it, just check your junk folders. If you still don't see it, then call Beverly or email her. She used to work for us. Beverly used to be a KW executive admin. And she now works for the vendor that gives us the content for the program. So I'm a KW trainer, and the content comes from a vendor. Now, by the way, because when class is over, for anybody who's interested, I can show you how their program works. We run it through our market centers, okay? What I'll ask is this, is if you can let's go through class first. And during class, we want to have questions focused on the class content. Does that make sense? Anything other than that, I'll stay as long as you guys want. And I can talk about other classes too, and other programs, even some map stuff. As long as I know about it, I don't mind sharing. But during class, we focus on content. My personal rule is this: have fun, interact, and take action. I'm going to give you some opportunities to do that today, okay? All right, real quick, raise your hand if you've been in the business 1 year or less. That's actually pretty good. Have y'all started the 1 year yet? Is it possible to have your commissions coming in steady, like a paycheck? It is possible. See, remember a moment ago when I talked about our Palm being like a license, and you can leverage it to attract different sources of business, okay? When you do that, if you had different sources of clients, would you agree you probably would have more cash flow? Well, you would. Or how about this? Here's a good question for everybody. How'd you like to have your evenings and your weekends free with your loved ones? You know, it's critical, isn't it? Because today in class clients are getting listings popping up, the few that are out there, and when they get off work at 5 o'clock, what do they want to go do? Go look at houses. And you get that phone call and you're like, we want to go see it. It just popped up. We're going to love it. We'll probably make an offer tonight. Anybody ever get that phone call? Right? Sense of urgency, and you go meet them. Well, don't feel bad because I used to do the same thing. So how'd you like to be more efficient? That's what I'm getting at. More like a business person. Actually, you can write this down if you want. We actually teach the consumers how to work with us based on our behavior. Would you agree? We do. So if we just simply feel, think, and speak and act like a business person, how does the rest of the world respond to us? Like we're a business person. So in any case, you can definitely control your schedule, especially with investors, because investors more likely go out during the day. Have y'all noticed that? Some will go out at night, but more likely during the day. You get to have your evenings free with your loved ones. So how would you like to be more efficient then with your license? More like a business person, okay? You guys already getting tired on me? I know it's a late class and it's a long one, so you got to hang in there. Here's how we're going to do this, right? I'm going to show you how to build a model around yourself to work with investors in a professional way so that you can actually learn to get another six-figure income to your bottom lines and do that in 6 months. How's that sound? That's the claim to fame for the class. So here's how we're going to do it, all right? 3-part agenda. Part 1, we're going to focus on data. Part 2, we're focused on how do you identify, attract, and serve the right kind of investors. In Part 3, if you stick with me, I know it's a long class. By the time we're done, you'll know how to build a thriving business around this profitable relationship. Actually, who likes that third part the best, the build the business part? Good. It's one of our mottos. I don't know if I could find it. We have a poster. For all the new folks, we have a lot of sayings in KW. And one of them is that we want you to have a business worth owning. And we're kind of serious about that. Like KW is not about KW. KW is about you and I building a business around ourselves. Does that make sense? Okay. So that's what we're here to do. And here's why. Okay, 2 pie graphs representing real estate data in the residential world. The first pie graph is the mixture of agents. Second pie graph is the mixture of transactions. Can you guys see this over here, okay, on the far side? All right, good.
And that'll be on the slides.
Now, they're only going to give you like links and things like that. They won't send you all this stuff. You can take pictures, though. I mean, anything, I don't mind if you take pictures. I'll try to get out of the way. Any case, mixture of agents. What this tells us is, God bless you, is that 99% of agents in the residential world focus on owner-occupied transactions. I mean, would you agree that's predominantly what we do? Help people buy and sell homes, which means only 1% of us are focused on the small investor. Can you think of anybody in your market center who's known for working with investors? I mean, they do owner-occupants too, but they working with investors as part of their reputation. Even just one agent? Yeah. And what's your first name? Andrea, nice to meet you. Well, ask this question. Do they look as concerned as most other agents do about where their next transaction is coming from? Typically. Typically not, that's right. Now, here's why. To be certain, the mixture of transactions tells us the answer. First off, historically, 2/3 of our transactions have definitely been for owner-occupants, okay? Which means a full third are for properties lived in by tenants. Now, if tenants live there, who owns those properties? Investors. We think it should be us or our clients, okay? No matter how you slice it, we want you to be in the game. But right here in Houston, the Houston Metroplex, take a wild guess the percentage of people who are renting. Just guess, just shout it out. 57 now and climbing. When I was here 2 years ago and it was right around 50%. Warren Buffett said this like 2011. He said, we're turning into a renter nation. And it's crazy. If you really break it down demographically and look at what we call the downsizers, these are emerging retirees, usually 55 and older. Did y'all know that right now, more people 55 and older who are downsizing are renting versus buying? Did y'all know that? I'm 56. I'm like, holy smokes, I just bought a farm. I'm going the opposite way. So I'm not a farmer, by the way. Farmer ain't for sissies, let me tell you that. By the way, Seppi, my wife's family, 11 brothers and sisters on a dairy farm, right? North Linden, yep. So in any case, So back to this. Here's what I'm getting at. This little red sliver of agents over here, okay, is getting their big, giant, unfair share of pie over here. Anybody hear Gary Keller ever say that phrase before? He wants you to get your unfair share of pie. Well, in 2016 New Orleans, he used that phrase. He also said, by the way, we're in a shift. This was 2016. And he had a slide that looked just like this. This was modeled after that slide. And he pointed to it, right? And this is one way you can do it. Matter of fact, raise your hand if you're having a little bit of an aha moment when you see these two pie graphs together. Isn't it startling when you see it in front of you graphically? It's like, my gosh, all these folks over here are focusing on this piece of pie, and this little piece of agents over here is focusing on this pie over here. Pretty dramatic difference. I'm not saying the blue agents here will not get some of these investor transactions. You will. You'll get lucky. Somebody will call you up out of the blue. They'll go to Than Merrill's Fortune Builders program, and anybody know who he is? Fortune Builders?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you know he used to be a Keller Williams agent? No. Yeah, he was at Trumbull, Connecticut. I taught it as a market center. So in any case, he's actually a pretty nice guy, but they charge, I think it's like $50,000 now. You don't have to do that. You know, it's good stuff and it works, but just, you can do this. You don't have to do that, okay? So in any case, let's move on here. A little bit about me. I actually did retire when I was 40 years old. I learned real fast, guys. Oh, yes, ma'am.
Well, I was going to ask, those charts, is that more traditional commercial and apartments?
No, all 1 to 4.
That was one, okay.
Yeah. Now, a lot of the do you do some commercial work too? Me too. So what we did, guys, just to give you the big picture here, we actually took some of the tools and methods from the commercial world and brought them down to the residential world to help these guys build that program. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. I tell you, you're gonna when you walk out of here, your head's gonna be spinning, okay, in a positive way, right? So, in any case, I retired. I was 40 years old. I finally got out of the business, but it was banking is what I was in. I felt like I was dying. Anybody did the corporate thing before? The corporate job? Yeah. So I finally got my license, and I was 39 years old. You know, last year. Okay. In any case, I was quickly on pace to add a six-figure income. In fact, my first year did 110 transactions, 103 the next year. Only did 55 the third year because I broke my back in 2 places, so it wasn't my normal productive self. And by the way, I'm not a superhuman person. I swear I'm about as regular as you can possibly get. What I learned early on is, thank the Lord, I got investors in the mix early on. I mean, some were doing that no money down stuff, but some investors were actually buying the right properties, not A+ luxury, but C minus, C+. Okay? And I learned a couple of valuable lessons. Number one is, if you ever, actually raise your hand if you ever owned another business before. Beauty shop, restaurant, garage. Would you all agree having repeat clients is really important? Man, it's like critical. And yet in residential real estate, most agents go for the one-off, like the owner-occupant that pays them about one time. In fact, this has been measured. Take a guess the average number of transactions you can expect per owner-occupant client. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like at about a year's, it's 1.1. Yeah, in a year's time. That's the average. Because you might get a referral. 1 out of 10 will give you a referral. Now, if you, for a lifetime, yes, you can get 5 to 7 transactions if you stick with it. But you got to stick with it, okay? Now, with investors, take a guess what the average number of transactions is per investor in that 1 year time frame.
5.
It's great. It's a little bit more than 4. Isn't that amazing? Now, think about it, guys. We're spending half our time prospecting just to get the business, right? Which means only half our time is available for production, actually making money. Would you rather get paid once or would you rather get paid 4 times? Yeah, exactly. So in any case, that was part of it. The other part was when you have a business and you have repeat clients, you know how you can like systematize things, like processes, procedures? That was the other part of it. So I'm not like a genius, I can promise you that. But when you apply certain methodologies to the right kind of clients, I promise you'll definitely have more of a business. Does this make sense? Right? Okay, so moving on, I eventually did build my own brokerage company. I merged it with KW over 7 years ago. I wrote books and won awards and stuff like that. But today is about you, and I'm going to help you do the same thing. Okay? I do have a favor to ask of you, though. If you could please do this one thing right now, would you please write down one key objective for yourselves for today's class? Okay? Go ahead and do that now. I mean, maybe you came to learn more about investing. If I have time, I'll fill in some gaps for you. But chances are you came to learn how to make more commissions. So I want you to write it down, and here's why. Everybody should be writing. At the end of the class, we're going to come back full circle and apply what we learned to meet our key objective. So go ahead and write something. This is for you. This isn't for me. This is for you. Okay. I promise you we get more out of the class the more engaged you are. And by the way, it's all about retention. Here's why we have you write all this stuff down. Check this out. If all you did was listen to class, retention's only 5%. If you take notes, it goes to 20%, a little bit better. But look at retention if you take action on what you learn. You retain more. It's the doing thing. I mean, would you all agree we learn way more from doing than we do from just reading a book?
Yes.
That's how we learn. So in any case, we call these folks the 5 that thrives, by the way. 5% of the population will actually come to class, listen, take notes, ask questions, and do the activities. That's it. Who wants to be the 5 that thrives, by the way? Yeah, we'll be the top 5%, okay? Only 4 of you raise your hands. Okay, so let's jump into some data, and this will make a whole lot more sense. If I keep getting in your way, just tell me, and I don't mind, I'll move. I'm used to moving around, but I tend to favor this side of the room for some reason. I don't know why, but maybe that's my good side, who knows? So in any case, here's what you want to write down. This is something we call a school report, okay? School as in where we go to school. It's an Excel spreadsheet, okay? And every 2 columns represents a school area. So Hopelo's a school area, Butler's a school area, so forth and so on, all right? Every school area has 2 columns, an active column and a sold column. And you know what I'll do, guys, is I'll send this in to Gabby tonight. I've got to drive to the airport, and I'll get it when I get it in and settled in. I'll send this to Gabby. It won't have your marker center's numbers, but she'll at least have the spreadsheet. Okay. So in any case, we want to see in price brackets by school area how many properties are actively listed and how many have sold in 90 days. So literally, all we're doing is saying, okay, computer, MLS, give me all the properties listed as A for active between 100 and 150,000 in this example in the Hopewell school area. Everybody with me so far? And then we plop that result 35 right in that cell. The next query is everything's the same criteria except the status is now S for sold, and we have a look back of 90 days. If y'all could write that down, you want to look back 90 days on this report, okay? Now, if you're wondering why do we do this, here's why we do it. We obviously have lots of good reports, lots of good statistics and ratios and things like that, right? But when we're investing our hard-earned money or that of our clients, would you agree having raw data is like really important?
Yes.
It's like the truth. I mean, it tells you exactly what's happening. You can't go wrong, right, unless you ignore the data. So let's just do an example here. What's your first name again?
Lowry.
Lowry?
Lowry.
Lowry. Nice to meet you, Lowry. Yeah, Lowry and Carlos. Lowry and Carlos. So Lowry, I'm going to make you an investor. You're now flipping homes, okay? You should have seen her. She was like, yeah, here comes the money now. And Carlos, I'll make you an investor agent. You're now working with investors, okay? So Lowry's going to call you up. She's going to say, Carlos, I want to flip a home in the South Butler area between 450 and 5 because that's where she grew up, and it's a great neighborhood, which is probably true. But class, does that mean it's a good neighborhood for flipping homes? Not necessarily. It could be a beautiful neighborhood. In fact, if you look at the ratio, check it out. Two buyers, 90 days, right? 1 active seller today. So I mean, in other words, demand exceeds supply, so values are doing what? Going up. So if you live there, you feel pretty good. Right. Now, if we look at this from the data perspective, look at the raw numbers, we'll see that right now there's only 1 house actively listed for sale. Let's say we were all working together. That was our farm area. Guys, there's probably 35 of us in this room. We would starve to death working in that neighborhood, right? That's no way to run a business, okay? In fact, if you're flipping, who's the flippers again? Raise your hand if you're a flipper, flipped before. Okay, what's your first name again? Genevieve, nice to meet you. I have one other student named Genevieve. She's in Montreal.
Oh, wow.
She's doing pretty good too. Yep. So in any case, when we're flipping, do we want to be in an area where there's just like one thing for sale, or do we want to be in an area where there's like turnover and activity? Got to have activity, yeah. So let's look at the last area, guys, okay? Look at the Seneca school area, and look at the second, third, and fourth rows, okay? So between 150 and 2, we've got 28 active listings today when the reports run, and 65 sold in 90 days. 2 to 250, 15 active, 39 sold, excuse me. And 250 to 3, 13 active and 35 sold. Now let's just stop there. Absolutely. I mean, would you agree, Genevieve, in that, well, for everybody, in that 3 price range bracket, in that school area, we definitely have supply and we definitely have demand. We do. Well, here's what I want you to write down. There's another pair of terms called volume and velocity. If you could please write that down, volume and velocity. I'm not going to get real technical. Just know this. Volume tells us how many in raw numbers, and velocity tells us how fast in raw numbers. So volume, supply, velocity, demand. All right? All right, I see some head nods. Everybody okay so far? All right? Here's why this is important. I'm looking at these numbers here, and that's probably a 2 to 3 ratio for everyone, like 2 to 3 buyers in 90 days for every one active listing today. So that's probably, like, that's going to be a little bit better than 30 days on market. That'll be probably, 35, 40 days on market. Here's the point. When a flipper flips a home, so Genevieve, when we're flipping, that we want our money back, just whenever that house sells, or we want our money back like now. Yeah, absolutely. And I'll just tell you guys, when I first found this, I found it at one of our market centers years ago, it changed how I flipped homes. I was no longer flipping as many, right? I wasn't trying to flip the most expensive. I wasn't trying to flip the cheapest. I was only flipping where the data told me I should be flipping. Make sense? So here's the thing. Let the data drive your actions and decisions. You can't go wrong, okay? Yes, ma'am.
So are you looking for a certain percentage? Obviously, by this, you get
Yep.
a certain percentage, right?
Yeah, I did. I picked that out on purpose because for me personally, the sweet spot was in fact about 2 to 3 buyers for every one seller. Because what I found out, if it was way more buyers than sellers, that ratio, then the prices were going up too fast and then everybody was there and it was too competitive. And the opposite's not good either. So if I'm in an area where there's lots of listings, like 65 are active right now, but look, only 39 have sold in 90 days. I mean, that means they're going to sit out there for like 6 months. You follow what I'm saying? So it really is important to have the data to drive your actions. And here's what we recommend. If y'all could, I just remember this or write this down. This is one of those things you don't keep to yourself. You definitely want to share this with your clients. I mean, think about it. If we share this with our clients, what does that do for our credibility?
Yeah.
It goes up. Okay.
So what's the sweet spot you were about to say?
To me, it was about 2 to 3 buyers for every one active seller today. Now, different parts of the country are different. I mean, I can tell you, I've taught this in every region we have in North America, and most of the market centers. And would you agree Houston and San Francisco are like completely different markets?
Yes.
They just are. But let me ask you this. Would you also agree that the fundamentals never change?
Yeah.
They don't. Fundamentals are like natural laws. They work no matter where you are. You just have to use the data to understand what fundamentals to apply, right? So in the San Francisco Bay Area, when I was there, I taught there 3 different years. And the first year I was there, they were really peaking out. I mean, they actually, check this out, you may have heard this. The local board decided they were going to put a mandatory 7-day moratorium on listings. Like you could list it, but you couldn't accept offers for 7 days. You guys remember hearing about that?
Wow.
Because they thought they would give everybody a fair chance to look at the properties. But we're entrepreneurs. What do you do when you create that kind of scenario? Like you take something away from people, like show it to them, take it away. What does it create? Yeah, it actually had the opposite effect than what he wanted. It really just, people were bidding up. It was ridiculous, you know. So in any case, back to reality, back to this though, this really is important. And you'll have people call you up and say, I just want to flip the $1.5 million house because I want to make the big bucks. Well, now you can show them what's actually happening right now at the $1.5 million mark. Exactly. Over in Austin, we call it tumbleweeds and crickets. It's quiet. See, it's funny, Texas is like 4 different geographies, you know. Here you got trees and stuff like that and water. Way out there past Austin, it's tumbleweeds and crickets, okay? Anybody ever go out there before? Anybody ever been to Laredo before?
Uh-huh.
Yep. Different world. So in any case, I should probably explain why we focus on school data based on school year. It's actually real simple. If you think of your transaction history, okay, in terms of a good old-fashioned high school statistics bell curve, representing volumes of transactions in our case of real estate, okay? So there's not much at the bottom, not much at the top. Most of our transactions are in the middle of the curve. This represents the most transactions. Well, if you study the demographics, what people are making up these transactions, historically, it's going to seem obvious, but it's a middle-class family looking to buy medium-price homes, and they got 2.3 kids, right? That's the statistical right smack down the middle. We call that the avatar, right? You've used that phrase before, avatar? Avatar is your ideal client. If you do your marketing, who's your avatar? Well, that's your avatar, okay? Now, when that family with 2.3 kids moves to Houston, right after they say, we want to make sure we're in a good neighborhood, the next thing it says, and we want our 2.3 children to go to school in a good school area, all right? So Carlos, knowing this, knowing that Lowry is not going to live in the house, she's going to buy the house and put it back on the market, right? And he's a smart agent, so he's going to do two things, or probably more than two. The first thing is when he first gets a new client who's a flipper, what kind of agreement does he get with that flipper? An agency agreement. Yeah. So that he gets the listing when she puts it back on the market. So now how many commissions is he getting? Two. And if he's having a really good day, what other commission might he get? The buy side on that one, yeah. So would you agree that we would market differently to the investor than we would to the owner-occupant? We would. So in the beginning, he markets to get the investor. When if she remodels the house and puts it back on the market, who is he then marketing to? That the avatar that we call the end user avatar. Okay? So in any case, this starting to sound pretty good. Like I said, I'm getting paid just once. You get paid 2, 3 times. Okay, you guys okay? Right. I'll get the beer truck coming after class. How about that? So beer and pizza. How about that? So in any case, we have a little bit of a challenge though, and it's this: the MLS doesn't give us all the transactions. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am. No, on this list here, it's really anything that's in there active or sold, okay, sold not last 90 days. I'm going to show you another tool next that's going to show you how to determine the actual average per neighborhood based on actual sales numbers. Yeah. Yeah, buy and hold. The only reason you'd use this for buy and hold is if you're renting out 3-bedroom homes and things like that, because those folks generally do care about the schools. You know, they got kids typically, but if you're renting 1 and 2 bedrooms, most cases you don't have to worry about schools. They're more interested in how close are they to shopping, transportation, things like that. Very good observation, by the way. So here's the challenge. The MLS doesn't give us all the real estate data in our area. In fact, half our investor transactions aren't even on the MLS. So here's what we do. What's your first name, by the way? Patricia. Nice to see. When men turn 29, our hearing goes, and we forget how old we are. All kinds of stuff happens. Thanks, Patricia. So what we do is this. We grab the zip codes for the school areas that make sense. And by the way, this is just one page. In the greater Houston Metroplex, you're the 4th largest Metroplex in the country. You've got a lot of people, a lot of school districts, a lot of high schools and things like that, okay? So you have to grab the zip codes served by the school district. Just go to the school district website and you'll see it. And plug them in this tool here called Melissa Data. This is the next thing you want to write down, Melissa Data, okay? God bless you, we've got some sneezers in here. Is it the allergies?
Yeah, the ragweeds.
That's mine too. Yeah, I'm hoping I didn't just trigger myself just by saying ragweed, because I'll start sneezing yet. Okay, so Melissa Data is a tool that came out with what's called EDDM, Every Door Direct Marketing, from the U.S. Postal Service. Anybody use that? Yes. Great little tool for traditional, owner-occupied real estate and also small businesses. Now, the Postal Service wants us to use postcards, but we don't use postcards with investors, okay? We do use the data, though. So you plug in your zip codes one at a time and focus on the carrier routes. These are the carrier routes, okay? For every carrier route, we see how many people live there, what they make, and the average property value, okay? But here's where things get a little bit different. These values here aren't coming from the MLS. These are coming from our tax assessor's database, okay? You know how when you sell a home, the deed gets recorded, right? The tax assessor picks it up. Now, Texas is not only a republic, it's also a non-disclosure state, okay? So the way the Postal Service does this, you can access the same data. In fact, I'll show you that later on. These are the sales amounts that's being averaged here. So this is an average of the sales amount, updated every 30 days. It's not the assessor's appraisal for assessment, it's the actual sales amount, average, okay? And what's really cool is these map buttons here are clickable. So by the way, real quick, what this means is now we've got more complete, accurate data. So we went from partial data to more complete, accurate data. Does that make sense? Which is really important. You want all the data you can get. Here's what's neat though. These map buttons here, okay? These are clickable. They're active links. You click on it and it brings up the map view showing you the carrier route that the postman takes through the neighborhoods, including street names and everything. Sound like good information? This is good stuff. So please write this down. Here's the application. You know how in our MLS we also can do a map view search? You know how we can draw polygons, connecting the dots? Man, all we're going to do, guys, is draw a polygon to match that area at 202,000, that area at 292, and that area at 276. Because those are the three areas in this zip code served by this school district that are selling between 150 and 3. That's the connection. So I'll do this kind of with some hand motions here. All right. You know how our school district lines don't match up with the zip code lines? It'd be great if they did, but they don't typically. So all we're doing is we're narrowing down here with school report, school area price range first, right? And we know that it might serve piece of this zip code, piece of that zip code, so forth and so on. So we go to the Melissa data that has all the complete accurate data based on zip code and only plug in the zip codes served by that school area. And then within the zip codes, we're only looking for neighborhoods selling between 150 and 3. So now we're looking precisely for specific properties that these people want to buy, right? So Lowry can buy it first, remodel it, flip it to them, in the right neighborhoods, in the right zip code chunks served by the school area. It's like we're doing a cross section is what we're doing. So just real quick, just give me a head nod or a hand raise. Everybody, you okay so far? Right. It's not real technical, but it's a little bit more than what we're used to doing. But the cool thing about this, I can promise you, once you do it the first time, you've got it. It's like a 2 or 3 step process, and that's it. It doesn't, the methodology doesn't change. The data will change. So you want to do this like on a monthly basis or something. Well, at a minimum, this report should be run every 90 days. Okay? This one is free from the Postal Service, but you don't have to do anything because it refreshes itself every 30 days. Okay? So it's actually kind of easy. You guys like this stuff so far? All right, cool. Now, what I want to do is I want to switch gears because we've spoken about flippers so far. Is it okay if we talk about landlords, folks buying rental properties? All right. Okay. If you notice here, there's no apartments in this area that we use for just showing you flipping, okay? Compared to this area, where there's lots of apartments. And what we know is wherever we have more apartments, we generally do have more rentals. Would you agree? It's not an exact match, but it's a natural phenomenon in real estate. More apartments, generally more rentals. In other words, some of the single-family homes in this area are also going to be rented, okay? So in any case, so back to this. What I do, this is what I would suggest, I would only focus when I'm looking for rentals, only focus on the areas that have the most apartments, like this area right here, this area right here, and that area right there. I'd ignore all the other areas. I know I might be missing a deal here and there, but I'm okay with that because I've dramatically reduced my effort, right? And within that reduced effort, I've got a higher probability of finding the rentals for my clients and myself. Does that make sense? Reducing effort, increasing probability. It's all about working smarter, not harder. Would y'all like me to show you something from my own investing to help explain this? Yeah. Show the use? Okay. Let me check my phone here real quick. I think we're okay. Good. Hey, my phone matches the clock on the wall. That almost never happens. So let's do this. So I'm going to show you. Let me do it this way. Okay. So when I first started investing years ago, doing all that Carlton Sheet stuff, you remember the old infomercials? You don't have to have cash. You don't have to have credit. Okay. So this is me years ago. We call it flatlining. Okay. Buying the same kind of properties over and over again, leverage up to our eyeballs. Okay. And it will take you forever to put up enough substantial wealth and income to retire doing that. This is Gary Wilson driving around in a pickup truck on Saturdays, fixing stuff, collecting rents. You might know what I'm talking about? That's what it's like, okay? That's no way to go through life. There are investors you'll learn from, and this is what I want to teach you today, is how to work with these folks that actually are growing vertically. They're actually gaining ground, partly by doing this. They don't keep buying the same kind of properties, okay? In other words, number one, they're not buying this cheap, crappy stuff down here. Let's face it, when you buy properties with no money down, what kind of properties do you think you're going to end up with? Exactly. Now, they're buying better properties, right? So these are typically all brick, Traco windows, nice landscaping. By the way, strategically placed I tell you what, this isn't part of class, but go ahead and write this down. This is kind of important. Strategically placed around hospital systems, university systems. Yep. One of the key ingredients to a successful rental business is to be in a stable area. They might not be like A+ luxury. In fact, they're probably not, but they're definitely going to be like C- C areas, okay? In fact, something I learned myself personally is, you know how there's hospitals that are called teaching hospitals, they're connected to the university? Whenever you work around there, invest around there, you'll automatically improve your odds of the rental base, because you'll have the interns, the residents, the graduate students, the nurses, things like that. Generally, pretty good group of renters, okay? Now, the other thing is, too, is between these types of properties and these types of properties up here, which ones would you say have better rent increases over time? Absolutely. Yeah, you can raise your rents more. It's more of a geographic kind of a function thing. Now, I'm going to tell you something right now that's probably one of the most important things I'd ever discovered. The biggest discovery I made in investing is this. They also did not keep buying the same kind of properties, these folks, right? They forced themselves, they disciplined themselves to only buy the next bigger property in terms of numbers of units per purchase. That one thing right there was the game changer for me. The most important thing I ever switched was my methodology, my how I invested in real estate, okay, was that one thing right there. Does that make sense? So in other words, this could be 16 single-family homes, but one purchase, right? Or a 16-plex, or 4 fourplexes. The point is like let's say, Lowry, you and I bought a duplex and it worked really well. Our brains are probably going to keep wanting us to keep buying duplexes, right? That's how our brains are wired. It's a forced discipline to force yourself to be patient and wait till you see the fourplex popping up and you can actually buy the fourplex, okay? You have the capital to do that. But I can tell you this, over time, this model will outpace this model every day of the week. It's just going to take time, okay? Now, here's something interesting. When I first started using my license, at first I was attracting more of these guys because that's what I was doing, the no money down stuff. I was doing it myself, so that's the kind of investors I was attracting. And as a result, my commissions stayed what? Stayed flat. Over time, when we start working with more and more of these folks, what do our commissions do? I should make this part of class, shouldn't I? I think make this part of class. All right, real quick, the connection is this. These properties down here, the real cheap ones, generally show up in an area like this. Like there's a lot of them, but they're a lot less expensive. And these better properties generally show up in an area like this, still lots of them, but they cost more in the beginning. I know it seems counterintuitive, but it did for me too. In fact, when I first started doing this, I called my mentor up and I said, I think I'm doing this wrong. I just bought a property here that was more expensive than what I could have bought down here. I actually even put my own money into it, 20% by the way. And the cap rate was lower here than I had a cap rate down here. I'm like, how is this supposed to work for Gary Wilson? And he said, it was this old German dude named Gerhard Flugfelder, my very first mentor. And he said, you're like all Americans. You want to just flip the switch and the money comes out. You want to play the lottery, right? And he said, real investing is not playing the lottery. Real investing is building your own lottery machine that pays you every single day. And I finally sunk in. And I will be the first to tell you, I didn't even start seeing a difference for 3 years, right? And let's face it though, did the last 3 years go by pretty fast? Let me tell you, it's going to go by even faster, right? Anybody my age around you don't have to raise your hand. It's going to keep going, isn't it? Yeah. So my growth was, my personal investing growth was more like a curve, right? Like a curve. Started off slow, picked up steam over time. Y'all want me to show you exactly what I did? Yes. All right. Let's just take a few minutes and show this. So in the beginning, when I switched over, first off, it took me about 3 years to have the guts or give myself permission to actually switch to that, right? Because I was used to I thought everybody invested with no money down. That's what I thought, but I was wrong. When I switched over, it was a little bit slow. I mean, maybe I'm slow, I don't know, but I'm also very conservative, okay? I would literally save up my excess commissions, my rents that I had left over from the crappy stuff down here, and get the next bigger property, okay? But what happened over time is I also met a guy named, Dave Ramsey? Real neat guy. Got a great program called Financial Peace. He actually spoke at our family reunion years ago, Phoenix, maybe it was Dallas. I can't remember. In any case, I applied Financial Peace to my business, right? And so, for example, I paid off this duplex. Let's just say this was the model. That was the duplex I bought. And I paid it off. Now, when I paid that off, did my debt go up or did my debt go down? It went down. And what did my cash flow do? It went up. So Dave Ramsey calls it the snowball rolling uphill. Then I applied it to the next one, applied to the next one. Over time, as you might imagine, I had a better equity position and certainly more cash flow coming in, okay? So what I did was, and again, this is all just learning from the School of Hard Knocks. I wanted to get what's called a blanket mortgage. It's essentially a line of credit that's like an equity line, but it's a commercial line of credit against your non-owner occupied properties. These are investment properties, so they're business properties. You know that every lender I went to at first said no, because they wanted to refinance everything because they wanted to be in first position. Like the commercial lenders want to be in first position. But Genevieve, I didn't want to start over again with the amortization. I've already built up some equity, based on amortization, right? So I finally found a lender. He said, look, I'll give you a 50% loan to value loan. It'll be a commercial line of credit, and it's called a blanket mortgage. You can write this stuff down if you want. In fact, you should probably write it down. So I took what he gave me, went out and bought the next bigger property, right? Fixed it up, raised the rents. Remember, on bigger properties, we use what's called the income approach to valuation. We don't care so much what the neighbor's property sold for. It's based on income production, okay? So I raised the value, essentially doubled the value, which is not hard to do. So a lot of people mistake this, think, well, in order to double the value, you've got to double the rents. That's not true. You just got to raise the rents a little bit because your fixed costs they're fixed, they're called fixed for a reason. So it's all upside. Does that make sense? So I did that, then put a first mortgage on it, 50% loan to value, by the way, that was enough to pay back the line of credit. Now, when I paid back the line of credit and added another income producing asset to my portfolio, what did that lender do for me on that line of credit? Whoosh, that's when it turned the corner, okay? 17 years I did this stuff down here. 17 years, bought a whopping 42 units. I thought that was pretty good. And I'm watching these guys, I started getting these investors, and they got like hundreds of units and thousands, and they're definitely not driving around in pickup trucks fixing stuff, okay? Actually had less gray hair than me too. And I just remember Success Leads Clues. I just started modeling them, and I realized, well, there's people that actually you can learn. You can take courses, you can read books and things like that. And over time, I'll just tell you, so it took me about 3 years to switch over. About 3 years, the difference started showing up. But essentially, once I started this, in less than 5 years, I added another 208 units, okay? Talk about making a believer out of me, holy smokes, Any case, just a couple of things here, guys. I want to move on, but I'm thinking this is probably one of the most important things I could teach you, actually. Yes, sir.
The units that you were adding,
Yes, sir.
were they significantly growing as well, too?
Yeah, I kept buying bigger and bigger properties. Yeah. In fact, when I turned the corner, my next purchase was a 78-unit apartment complex. And after that, I never looked back. I never went back anything. My threshold was 50 units or above, and now we do joint ventures and things like that. Yeah, yes, ma'am. No, that's okay. Yep. Well, bigger in size, but numbers of units. Yes, which that's the more important concept. Yeah, but keep going. Yeah. Yeah, here's what we look for. So there's lots of good data sources out there. In fact, if you do the training program, you get all these websites to research people and properties and everything. So for example, would you agree Texas is reasonably priced compared to some of the other states in the country?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Would you agree Texas has been enjoying a pretty rapid population growth?
Yes.
Yeah. Would you agree Texas has had pretty good job growth?
Yes.
Yep. By the way, first time I came down here was 1988. I was a greenhorn. Yep. You may remember 1988 around Texas?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you had, you were, yeah, that's okay.
Ignore him.
Awesome, man. A good year, right? Well, I'll tell you what, back then, Texas was in bad trouble. The S&L crisis was in full bloom. oil and gas was in the tank, and you could drive down the road, and this was in Dallas, by the way, and pick up a 3-bedroom brick ranch with a pool in the back for like $80,000. You can't even touch that now. So in any case, so back to what I was saying, we look for those kinds of things. We want to see with some reasonable certainty that trend is going to continue for some time. Okay? For me personally, in the earlier years, I focused more on cash flow. I would look within those areas, what properties can I purchase to add value, raise the rents? The increased value of the property was important to me, but the increased cash flow was more important. Now, where would you say my emphasis is? On cash flow or appreciation? It's an appreciation. It's not that I'm against cash flow. I love cash flow, but I've already got it. So what happens if you meet investors, you'll see over time your strategy tends to evolve. Yes, sir. Absolutely, yeah.
Like for a 5-year, 10-year?
It's actually as far as we can go.
Oh,
Yeah. Now, remember that history is not a determining factor of the future, but if you look at certain other factors, like the reason why we like hospitals, universities, if you think about it, actually, here's a good question. This is a real brain teaser. In a recession, would you say college enrollment goes up or down in a recession?
it goes up.
It goes up. How about that? And do hospitals ever run out of business? Yeah, I'm sorry, you had a question, sir?
Well, yeah, no, I was just gonna say, you can't get a job, you might as well stay in school.
Yeah.
So, you asked the question about
Yes, sir.
what crystal ball,
Yeah.
yourself, hindsight is not always.
Yeah. There's not a lot out there. Nobody's willing to put their neck on the line and say, we think the Department of Justice is going to do this in the next 5 years. But there are prognosticators, like Barron's Magazine, things like that, Wall Street Journal. Fidelity has a great website for research. But I'll give you a good...
You also mentioned that
Yep.
you invest in areas where there's potential growth.
Correct.
Universities, colleges,
Yeah, a lot of that's based more on demographic factors, social demographic factors. Like, for example, if you look back at my lifetime, there's been a huge migration of people from northern states, including, in Canada too, by the way, to the southern states. I don't see that really stopping, quite frankly, Because the baby boomers, look, there's 76 million baby boomers out there, and heck, I'm one of them, right? But another tool, by the way, please forgive me, what's your first name again? Philip. There's a great commercial company called Marcus and Millichap. You've probably heard of them. Marcus and Millichap puts out a lot of really good free reports. Yep, Marcus and Millichap.
What's the name?
Marcus, Marcus. That's one guy, George Marcus, and then Millichap is Milichap. I wonder if it's 2 L's, I can't remember. Millichap. In any case, one of my former brokers is their number 3 person right now. His name's David Bradley. He runs the Chicago Marcus Millichap office. He used to be one of my commercial brokers. And in fact, I'm interviewing him next week on a podcast. How about that? Yeah. Next Wednesday, the 30th at 11 a.m., I'm going to interview him live. And they do some good projections on the reporting.
broadcast on KW?
No, that'll be, it's recorded, but it'll be broadcast like probably months later, unfortunately. You'll be able to get it eventually, yeah. Yes, sir.
And what is it going to be about?
I really don't know because the guy is really good. He's sharp, and he was a millionaire by the time he was like 24 years old, multimillionaire.
Do you have the name of the podcast?
Yeah, it's called Real Estate Investing. Real Estate Investing for Professional Men and Women. Real Estate Investing for Professional Men and Women. So in any case, I'm gonna probably grill David about what did they see coming down the road, because a lot of people are hearing we're in a shift, and technically we are in a shift. But the thing is, the current rate that we're expanding at could keep going for a couple of years. That's just how the economy works. It's all about psychology. As soon as everybody starts feeling bad, the economy goes down. That's why I don't turn on the news. I don't turn on the news. They're trying to get you to feel bad, So in any case, so Marcus Millichap, I'd say, was one of my favorite resource tools. Yeah. Yes, sir.
So just they'll have their investment forecast
Mm-hmm.
join their site.
Yeah. Thanks for saying that, by the way. You want to know another really good tool? Check this out. How many of y'all have used RPR? RPR. Excellent tool, man. Isn't it? Right, Philip?
I used it in Boston, and I got a deal
Yep.
up there.
Yep.
A lady who was
Uh-huh.
placed up there.
Yep.
Said, I'm thinking of selling it.
Yep.
Hold the broker,
Yeah. Yeah. Is that where you're from? Boston area? Yeah. You know what Worcester is? Yeah. One of my best favorite students, Justin Jarbo is there. Worcester is a real great area to buy rentals right now. Yep. So we have a lot of KW offices up there and some pretty good top performers. In fact, the guy that's a team leader for the Cambridge Market Center actually runs property management too. Yeah. So I got to tell you guys, I'm going to talk about it later on. September 4th, I taught Wednesday, September 4th in Louisville, Kentucky, I taught the first property manager class. Yep, I see some head nods. I'm going to help you get turned on to property management by the time we're done. How about that? Okay, so back to this. Hey, by the way, raise your hand if this helps you personally. This is probably, I wish I knew this like 35 years ago. I really do. I'm going to have Beverly make a slide of this for class, okay? I think it's that important because I can tie it back based on data, but I can also tie it back based on our production of commissions, okay? Yeah. Okay, so let me move on to the third part, and then we'll make some more progress here. We want to validate everything we've done so far, okay? So we've used school report, Melissa data. We know where we want to flip, and we know who wants to buy the property once we flipped it. But we want to really validate everything first using data. You're going to hear me say data about 5 million times today, okay? So we use Planning Commission websites to do that. So if you can please write that in your notes, Planning Commission. Every city has one, every county has one. I'm trying to remember, is this Harris County, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so Harris County is going to have its own planning commission, okay? And they gather data from uscensus.gov. They gather data from your local property records, your tax assessor database, and populate these websites. They're all different, by the way. A planning commission. And they all look different. So in any case, let's just use the example of age for our example. I can see in 5-year increments how many people live here, right? 5-year increments. Now, the largest segment in this example happened to be 50 to 54 years old 9 years ago. Now those folks are in their 60s. And what are people in their 60s wanting to do or thinking of doing? 76 million of them. That's a lot of people. So think about it. Lowry's flipping a home. She's going to be, and Carlos is going to advertise that home to this avatar with 2.3 kids, the family with 2 children. There's a family with 2 children. Do they want to move to neighborhoods where everybody's getting ready to retire? No, I mean, 1 or 2 might, but most folks with kids want to be in neighborhoods where everybody has kids. Does this make sense? So we have to save Lowry from tying up your precious capital for a long period of time. And I'm not saying we can't sell here. We can definitely sell this neighborhood. But would we market to emerging retirees the same we would market to families with 2 children? There'll be different language patterns and things like that. So when I first figured this out, guys, I was doing pretty good. I was making enough commissions. I knew I could leave my day job, which is what I really wanted. The challenge up to that point, though, was, man, I'm going out showing properties almost every night, doing traditional real estate stuff. Coming home and finding my kids had already gone to bed. Man, you did that enough times, it'll tear at your heartstrings. Anybody know what I'm talking about? It go fast, doesn't it? I mean, my oldest is now 28, 26. And 10 years later, this little baby popped out. I got a 16-year-old, Chilto. So she never saw the early years. The older kids saw all the early years, building, like the struggle, building all this up, right? The younger one, all she's ever known is like Disney World and all this kind of fun stuff, So, and by the way, guess what car she wants to drive? A little BMW, with a pop top and a cute little 2-door. Well, the older kids, Annie got the old Nissan Quest minivan. We call it the rust bucket. And Andrew got the old pickup truck. That was an old pickup truck. So I told Sarah Grace, I said, honey, you're going to get the old Ford Focus,
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm not doing too good. She hasn't had a job yet. She's in her 12th grade and no job yet. And it's hard for me to do anything because she's so smart. She makes good grades. And I keep spoiling her. I'm like, I'm probably the problem. All right. Yes, sir. Probably, yeah. That's right. Where her mom has 4 degrees. Yeah.
She likes school too.
And she's a professor, yeah. So, In any case, one of our best friends is actually named Seppi. And Seppi here is from Toronto, and we have a farm 2 hours west of Toronto, London, Ontario. Yeah, small world.
You know, I would just make a comment.
Yeah.
The expression
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
of the Air Force, so maybe you want to.
There you go. I like it.
I
Yep.
thought that was a joke that you said.
Oh, no, the intention is to build like a B&B on it with a cooking school and have like riding trails and things like that. We want a family destination where people can learn about organic, homegrown organic food and have the kids prepare it, all this kind of stuff. That's our vision.
But here that buying the farm is.
Yeah, I know. And well, fortunately this year, we both of our fathers bought the farm. So you're absolutely right. We probably should be careful. So in any case, so back to this. When I really slowed myself down, I was with my kids more, thank goodness, but I was also using my time more wisely, doing this kind of stuff, right? And when I'm sharing this with the clients, they love it because they're making better decisions, they're making more money. And by the way, when our clients make more money, what do we make more of? Now you're getting better. See, first it was her, now it's you guys in the middle. Yeah. I mean, my hope and wish and dream is that you really will apply this and you can do something for yourself for a change. And sometimes we're all servants. We serve other people. We're so used to helping other people, we don't even help ourselves, you know? So, okay, are you ready to move forward with this?
Yes.
All right, let's do a marketing campaign. We'll do a quick breather and come back and do more marketing. Let's do the booklet first, okay? Let me grab that. So this is one, and by the way, I brought one of my old original booklets. You can, torn, tattered, broken apart, stained. The reason is it has sentimental value too. So years ago, I had my son bring to me a financial planner's booklet. Anybody ever met a financial planner before? They give you a booklet with stocks, bonds, mutual funds, things like that. So I had him bring it to me in the hospital. This is when I broke my back. And at the time, we had to figure out what we're going to do because we had all kinds of stuff going on. By the way, the first person I saw at a surgery was, of course, the recovery room nurse. And she was going to give me a shot of something called Dilaudid. Anybody ever hear of Dilaudid before? Let's hope that never makes it on the street. I don't know what's in that stuff. Who's had Dilaudid before? Look at these faces. They're like, yeah, give me some of that. No, stay away from Dilaudid, right? Well, I refused it. What's your first name?
Aaron.
I refused it, Aaron, because the second person was the surgeon, came in and said, congratulations, you made it. Bad news, your right leg's not functioning right now. Just like that. I'm like, man, I'm in trouble now. Like, what does a realtor do when you can't walk and you can't drive? You call Uber cab, right? I'm just kidding. In any case, by the way, at that point, my second youngest had just joined my first youngest at college. She was a junior and he was a freshman. And they were both small, private, out-of-state colleges. You might know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
I think I bought a couple of Ferraris in those years. Yeah, I'm still looking for them, by the way. And at the same time, my wife and I were going separate ways. It was a very unpleasant, it was a terrible time. Yeah, you know, you ever hear people talk about, hey, I had the best divorce, man? No, they're all horrible, you know? So, yeah, exactly. There's no winning. It's just different degrees of losing. So, in any case, I went through my first big surrender moment in life. Up until that point, I thought I was in control. I'm doing all this stuff and having success. Let me tell you, your life will get a lot easier if you just learn to let go. Does that make sense? Just have your surrender moment and just be okay with it, because I can tell you this, chances are there's something better for you right around the corner. Does that make sense? God's preparing me for something better than you thought you were going to get before, right? But you got to take action though. Like you got to have some faith in life. Definitely got a lot of faith. But you got to do the work. Like when God gives us opportunities, does He do the work? No, we got to do the work. The next day, by the way, after this scene, I put together 2 real estate transactions from a hospital bed. Now, would you say they were owner-occupied transactions? It was these guys here. INVESTOR. I love investors. They came to the rescue for me. They didn't just help me survive, they helped me thrive. And here's what I'm getting at. So 2 days later, doctor shows up for his daily visit, sits down, first thing he said was, Mr. Wilson, the nurses are telling me you're not normal. I kept refusing medication, and I think in a hospital, they don't like it when you refuse medication. And he got to know my scoutmaster. I still do high adventure trips with first-class scouts all over U.S. and Canada. And matter of fact, when we were talking about all that, he stopped me and he said, do you believe you're going to walk again? Just like that. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about this. I looked back and I said, if you believe I'm going to walk again, I believe I'm going to walk again, right? And he looked back at me and he said, if you just had the mustard seed of faith, you know what I'm talking about? and you take action, he's pounding his fist, you take action every single day, do everything I tell you to do, not only will you be walking, you'll be surfing, skiing, and everything else. And 6 months later, I took my first class scouts on a 2-day backpacking trip. And I thank God for putting that doctor on my path at the time. By the way, his name's Matt Elkadi, E-L-K-A-D-I. If you know anybody with neurological damage, I'd suggest you look the guy up. I think he's a freaking miracle worker, right? You've got one really good hospital down here, it's famous, world famous, MD Anderson's famous cancer treatment place. Well, this guy's at UPMC in Pittsburgh. And he didn't give me metal cages and rods and steel. You know people had like steel rods in their back, stuff like that? He didn't do that. You know what he did, Philip? He put medical cement. I don't know what it was, medical cement. I literally got probably 90, what's that? Is it? I've got like probably 95% mobility now. I've had some problems, but nothing, I mean, I'm still okay. You know, I can still surf and ski and all that. In fact, 3 years ago in Virginia, in my age group, I was ranked the 9th worst surfer in Virginia. I'm the guy they make the high rate reels from. So, anyway, so here's what happened. He gets up to leave, looks back, and says, for the record, most of y'all just sit here and watch TV and eat food. I said, I can't. I have to work for myself. I'm in business for myself. And he asked me, what did I do? And I told him, I said, I'm a realtor and I work with investors. And he said, really? He said, I've been thinking about that lately. And then he said, would you come to my practice and help my doctors invest in real estate? Oh. Yeah, ding, 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 ding. Took about 0.001 seconds to say yes to that. See, that's why I don't do those drugs, right? So I can be aware of these opportunities. Of course, the answer was yes. And 3 months later, guys, he came to pick me up in his own car, take me to a restaurant where 30 of his 32 neurosurgeons are waiting for me.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I didn't want to show up.
What people don't realize is one of the people who, I'm not sure if he still owns this building, or he was a doctor before.
Yep.
Doctors are big investors.
I tell you what, Dr. Alcadi, I worked with him. In fact, I told him, I said, I will work for you for free for the rest of my life, you know, because I thought I was going to be one of those, you know, wheelchair with a special van, all that kind of stuff. Nope. And he would buy things like, you could probably write this down because the guy's pretty brilliant. Number one, he owned the largest neurosurgery practice in the country. And I would help him buy like fully automated car washes where there was no money. It's just all electronic, no cash. Laundromats. Yep. You know what I'm talking about, Philip?
No, but
Yep.
parking lots and laundromats.
Yep. So take that one to the bank, guys. Definitely write this stuff down. These are little things that aren't part of class. They're just coming to me as I'm talking. So in any case, I didn't want to show up with a bunch of this kind of marketing, the glossy brochures and the bifolds. Because what would those doctors done with this? Tossed it away or left it on the table. So I came with a bunch of these, okay? So what happened is in the hospital, I started this process every morning, prayer, meditation, exercise. I still do that today, every single morning, before I ever open up the world. And one of those mornings, I got this divine guidance to take this booklet, and instead of stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, put in there duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes. Who thinks that might be a good idea? Boy, howdy, does it work. So in any case, we have a different version of this now for commercial. Anything big property, 30-unit buildings, we use a different format. Same structure, but different format. This is it's good for the small stuff. In any case, hey, by the way, has anybody here ever read the book called Miracle Mornings by Hal Elrod? Hal Elrod's in our mastermind group. So Mike McCarthy, my regional owner, helped him write Miracle Mornings for families. And Ryan Snow, team leader from Massachusetts, helped him write Miracle Mornings for salespeople. Ryan Snow and Hal Elrod used to work at Cutco together. They were both at one point #1 in Cutco. In any case, so back to this. Hal Elrod wrote a book on that process. Every morning you wake up, you do that same process. I promise you, life will still happen, but you're going to be way better off, okay? So in any case, back to this. Please write #1 cover page. #1 cover page. We'll do that first. And you can write this phrase up here, where the smart money is. You don't have to write book this. Just write where the smart money is. Okay? It creates what's called an open loop in the reader's mind. Open loop is a subconscious function. So in other words, I'll demonstrate it. So when I say where the smart money is and stop, what exactly? It's auto function, it's subconscious. Well, we're going to help them solve that. We're going to help them give them the answer. Now, before we give them the answer, we're going to give them a picture from the area, okay? And what they recommend in the training program is you actually buy the photo, because then you have the legal right to reproduce it. Does that make sense? So just spend the $10 to get the photo. And then you can give them the answer, investing right here in Houston, Texas, okay? Right, and then your broker's name, this is my old brokers before I merged with KW, okay? And that's your contact information. That's essentially, by the way, I brought a photocopy of this, so when class is over, we can scan this in for y'all if you want. Okay, so that's cover page. Then number 2, if you could please write number 2 and write the word letter as an intro letter or introductory letter, okay? And here, what I recommend is for all of us to try to not talk about ourselves. You know how we always do that, like on our business cards, we give our credentials and all that stuff? Just talk about the area. Just talk about investing in the area. So in other words, you could say, tell them, hey, did you know that 57% of our residents in the Houston Metroplex are renting right now? Because what would that mean if somebody interested in investing? Maybe they should get some rental properties, okay?
I'm sorry, so the second page is data.
Yeah, you want to give them like an introductory letter and mention some of the, mention some of the facts. Investing facts relative to the area. Yeah. Yep. Okay, so that's number 2. Number 3 is the word story, S-T-O-R-Y, okay? Story is actually really important. What you're doing here is providing a real life example of a real investment. So this was one of my own from years ago, probably 20 years ago. So I gave them the pro forma on the purchase, then I gave them the pro forma on the sale when I sold it years later. Pro forma, all that means is you're showing them, the rents, the taxes, stuff like that, just income expense. And then I gave them the story part, everything in between, okay? Now, if you have not bought a property, you have my permission to use my story. It'd be better if you had one locally from your area, but the thing is where I got started was almost identical to where you are right now in your pricing range. But you can use mine. Just change the change the name. You can put your name on it. Actually, change the name and the picture. So Genevieve, you don't want to change the picture. Forget the name. People will say, "Boy, Gary got pretty this one. Look at him now."
Look, one of my fourplexes that I'm selling right now that I bought a few years back, and use that as a story.
Absolutely. Now, we'll tell you, in the beginning, when I first did this, speaking of properties, by the way, please write number 4 in the word sample. Number 4 is the word sample. And really all we're doing is we're providing samples of properties from the area. So Genevieve, what I did in the beginning when I first did this, I loaded it full of active listings because I thought, well, the booklet's going to sell lots of properties. But if you think about it, the booklet's actually not supposed to sell properties. In fact, what is the booklet supposed to sell?
You.
Bingo, yep. So here's what I recommend. Definitely put in a couple of actives, but also put a couple of solds and a couple of pendings. Kind of mix it up. Does that make sense, guys? You want to show them that you're helping inform them. You don't want to make it look like you're just trying to just sell stuff. You want to actually serve them, help them, right? So in any case, that's number 4. Okay, number 5, if you could please write number 5 and write the word tool, T-O-O-L, okay? Right? Tool, we've got lots of tools, right? This is one simple one. It's an Excel spreadsheet where the columns are the properties, okay? Columns are properties, and the rows are all that financial data, right? The taxes, the insurance, rents, of course, up top. That's all that is. And at the bottom is the net. That's all it is. Real simple spreadsheet. So they can compare properties side by side. Sound like a pretty good tool? Yep. So anyways, as a result of this, that night in the restaurant with all those doctors, of the 30 that were there, six of them said, I want to do this. I want to work with you. How do I do that? Do I sign something? And at first I thought it was a failure because I was up in front of them on this walker and they all had these booklets and I was talking, but they weren't paying attention to me. They were all talking to each other, but what I realized is, what were they talking about? The stuff in the booklet. Yeah, and I was like, wow, that does the work for you. And plus, it's information based. It's tools, information, data, inventory. I mean, my gosh, you can't, So in any case, that's a 20% conversion rate for something that took, a couple hours on a computer, a couple hours at dinner. Yes, sir.
What was all in the tools section again?
So you want to give them. Actually, I could give you
Columns for properties?
columns of the properties, and the rows are all the like the income. Yeah. So maintenance, repairs. Yeah, insurance, water bills, things like that. Yep. If you think about it, Genevieve, do you do rentals too? Do you have rentals? Do you use Schedule E when you do your tax return? Anybody do Schedule E?
Ask my husband and my CPA.
Okay.
Here.
There you go. Well, Schedule E, if you have rental properties, generally you're going to use Schedule E that basically covers the rental income expense. Well, what we did, Philip, is we used that as a model, but we cut off everything from depreciation down, because that was more the technical stuff. We just gave them the income expense. Yep. Okay. So in any case, it took me probably a couple hours on a computer, a couple hours of dinner, by the way, that they paid for too, and drove me to and from. So can you see how my life at that point was a little bit better than it was, 3 months before? I mean, I'm up on a walker. I got some doctors I'm working with. I'm thinking, thank you, Lord. See how you got to have faith? Just hang in there. Don't ever give up. Stuff's going to come into life. Just does that. It goes up and down, up and down. In any case, turns out doctors weren't that easy. I probably just bursted some bubbles here. Surgeons have so much demand on their time. We're like low on the totem pole. I am going to give you the top 7 groups, though. Okay. Look, everybody's right now. Hey, before I do, real quick, I just want to compare this stuff that most realtors do with what I want you to do here. This is the old classic glossy postcard or bifold. And what would you say is the average return call rate on this type of marketing? It's actually less than 0. It's about 0.5%. The industry actually tells us you're going to get a 0.5% return. I'm like, that's horrible. These are cold leads too, by the way. You got to kiss a lot of frogs to get that prince. It's a lot of hard work, right? But what about the folks that call us back from something like this, where we gave them tools, information, inventory? What do we call those people? Prospects, exactly. So between timing, motivation, readiness, willingness, and ability, they've clearly demonstrated motivation, willingness, right, because they called you, and possibly timing. So 3 of the 5. And the fact is I mean, my own personal opinion is, knowing what I've been doing this for a lot of years, I would rather get 3 calls from this than 50 from this any day of the week, right? This is hard work, right? These people are telling you because you gave them meaningful information that they want what you got, right? So let's just do the 7 groups. You guys ready? Oh, yes, sir. Yeah.
So that little one is a postcard?
0.5% return call rate. I mean, she might get 2% and she might get 0.2%, but the average is, 0.5%.
Even on a repeated basis?
Yeah, I don't know that, but they just tell us 0.5% return call rate. Yeah. So I tell you this though, your conversion rate, which one would you say has a better conversion rate? Absolutely, yeah. Yeah. Yes, sir.
How did you start your follow-up?
Yeah. So what happened is I quickly switched from doctors because I realized I'm really working my butt off, and it's hard to get them to kind of, meet you and stuff like that. So I switched to these other 7 groups, and what we did is, well, here's what you want to write down. It's a repeat process. You want to send this out every month for 12 months, right? Anytime you do direct response, just remember 12 is the magic number. Now, when they respond to you, you don't have to keep mailing them if you don't want to, because now they're prospects. But also, what we would do, Phil, this is my own personal opinion, just what I did. If I was out showing fourplexes to a dentist, and I was around other offices close by when we finished up, I would go stop in and say, hi, I'm Gary Wilson. I'm the one that's been sending you this booklet. What do you think? And now that foot traffic would supplement doing this through the mail, and I would get better conversion rates. Yeah. But other than that, really nothing really fancy, You guys ready for the 7 groups?
Yes.
This will save you a ton of time. You don't have to go out there and kiss all those frogs. Just kiss these 7 people. I guess I should be careful, Larry. Hey, Gary said, kiss these 7 people, Gabby, and the money comes out. Let's kiss chiropractors first. I don't know if they're good kissers, but they make good investors. So chiropractors is one of those groups, okay? Another great group is the dental group. Dentists, orthodontists, they make great investors. Another really good group is teachers, right? Kind of interesting. A lot of people I've heard, so they'll say, well, teachers don't have any money. How can they invest? You'd be surprised. They're really good custodians with what they got, and they kind of have to be. In fact, there's a really awesome book you can read. Have you ever heard of the book called The Millionaire Next Door? Yes. Great book. They rank the millionaires in there by category. Guess what the 3rd category is? Teachers. Crazy. So a lot of, see people, I've noticed in my experience with investing, it's not always the accountants, attorneys, and doctors, right? In fact, they're not even in like the top 10. But the dentists, orthodontists, dentists and orthodontists are typically more entrepreneurial. They're like, they take marketing classes like we do, and they got to run a practice too. And they'll be the ones buying the buildings too, right? Other office spaces. So teachers,
So teachers like K through 12 or more?
just in general, no, definitely, it's definitely public school, grade through 12, and I think it includes college level too, I guess. It's just, pardon me? What kind of teachers? Before teaching? Oh, chiropractors and dentists. Yeah, sorry. Let's see, teachers. Other public servants, firemen and policemen make really good investors. That's one group. Firemen, policemen is one group. In fact, would you say firemen and policemen are action takers? They sure are. Who do we want to work with? People who take action. So be an action taker, work with action takers, and you'll get results, okay? Okay, let's see. Teachers, firemen, policemen. Oh, engineers is a really good group. And we got a lot of them around here. I hear some.
This profile pattern here.
I'm hearing some grumblings. Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about engineers. Who knows an engineer personally? Anybody married to one? Okay. Would you all agree engineers? They're going to ask a lot of questions, right? Yeah. They're going to take like this stuff here, tools and calculators and spreadsheets, and they're just break it upside down, inside out. But here's what I like about engineers. Do we have to teach an engineer how to do something more than once? No, they get it the first time, right? When an engineer commits, that they generally follow through. They sure do. You can't stop them unless you've got data, right, to tell them to do something else. Actually, check this out. All right, between this type of investing and this type of investing up here, which methodology would you say would appeal more to engineers? It does. It's because it's the organization, the structure, the growth. It's like how their brains are wired, right? By the way, for me, in my business, engineers are probably my most loyal group. Loyal to a T. Engineers are extremely loyal. All right, another great group is, pilots. Airline, cargo, military, agricultural pilots. Just pilots in general. Let's talk about their brains. Okay, so pilots. When a pilot first crawls into the cockpit, what's the first thing they go through before? Bingo, right, Jennifer. So what should we give them in our marketing material? Give them, just feed them. So think about what you're doing and who you're doing it with, and give them what they want. Checklist. This is a good one for flipping all the flippers, by the way. Electrical, roofing, plumbing, check, check, check. The other thing I like about pilots is pilots are trained and conditioned to make decisions what? Fast. Good thing for people that fly, right? So now you got action takers and decision makers, right? They're decisive. They have to be. So their nature makes them be that way. And if you ever want to have a lot of fun, go hang out with some airline pilots. Yeah. You may never fly again, but you'll have some fun. Pilots. Let's see. There's one more group. Military. I love them. Military folks tend to be more disciplined on average, right? Would you agree? They're generally more. You know what else? They're also really respectful. Raise your hand if you'd like to have more respectful clients in the business. Yeah, I'm going to raise both my feet too. Okay, we've all heard the saying, birds of a feather flock together, right? So, Saturday comes around, beautiful golfing day. And all those dentists and orthodontists are out there golfing together. Who's likely to be part of the golfing parties with them? Other dentists and orthodontists. They're going to say, man, how is it that you're getting these properties? They're going to say, you know what? You've got to call Carlos. Carlos has, the tools, the information, the inventory. All right. And who those guys going to call come Monday morning? They're going to call Lowry. They're just kidding. Carlos says, oh, wait, what happened? So they call Carlos. All right, let's do this. Do you feel like just even one person in any of those 7 groups? Just one? All right. Do you like the booklet as a marketing campaign? All right, let's do the commitment test for the market. Let's do this one for Gabby, okay? This is a heart question, not a head question. It's a heart question, which is this. So just imagine you do the booklet every month for 12 months, okay? And you do 25. So in a year's time, in this year, you're going to send out 300 booklets. How many transactions do you believe in your heart you're going to get from this technique over 1 year, 300 booklets? So go ahead and write fast. It's a fast answer, heart. What's that? Yeah, I'd write it down because everybody has different numbers. I've had people say 250, 36 all over the map. What we want you to do is we want you to use your own heart to determine this, because when you start in your heart, you put your mind to work for you. Does that make sense? So instead of your mind controlling everything, you now control your mind. Because success is an inside job. Success starts on the inside. And what happens is that your mind goes to work to help you identify the right education, the right information, and of course the right action steps.
Cells eavesdrop on your thoughts.
That's exactly right, yeah. Actually, write this down and we'll take a quick breather here. There really is a formula for success. And it starts with education. Right education, got to have it. Number one. Number two is the right information. And a really neat thing about the right education is it shows us how to get and use the right information. Kind of neat how that works. They go hand in hand. Now, the third variable requires you and me to take action. That's the part. Boy, I got to tell you guys, I wish I could tell you there was some magic formula. There's lots of formulas that work. The difference is the people that succeed are the ones that take action. It's just I wish I could bottle that in some kind of a magic formula, but it's just not realistic. What's realistic is, I could come to your kitchen tables in the morning if you want. I like waffles. but we really need you to step up to the plate and take action and implement what you learn and meet the trainers halfway. Impress your teacher, right? So in any case, would you like to take a 5-minute restroom break?
Yes.
Let's take 5 minutes, but let's come back on time because we got lots more to cover, guys. In the action, yes, ma'am. Yep, and then you'll get right results.
Information,
Action.
wasn't there, I thought you said
Well, the fourth is the result, which is equal results. You get results. Yeah. So right education, right information, right action gets you right results. Hey guys, if anybody has questions during the break, I'll stay up here during the break. I don't mind talking during the break. Okay. Hey there. All right, good. All right. Yes, ma'am.
I didn't start till I was in my 30s and we were
Yeah.
small and doing things.
Yeah.
He's 21.
Okay.
Well, right now we're in the process of, I found a good property.
Okay.
We're co-signing for him. But it
Okay.
looks like there's a lot of money in that, so we're probably just gonna flip that and make fast
Okay.
money. What would you suggest for somebody at 21?
I gotta tell you,
He's so young, it's like, man, had I started at that age, what I could
I would definitely start now. Our youngest student was 19 years old. Oldest student's 84. So I started when I was 23. When people ask me if I could do something different, what I do, you know what I tell them? We should have started earlier.
Yeah.
Because in real estate investing, nobody cares how old you are. They don't care where you come from. They don't care what language you speak. But all they care about is can you bring them the deal or get the deal done or whatever the case is. So my personal preference is this. This is just my own opinion. Do you have the entrepreneurial gene in you? You want to be independent, your own? Start buying rentals. Don't wait. You can always flip. See, there was a famous guy around here.
I
Actually,
figured this one, since it's got a lot of margin, he can use that money from the flip to
yeah.
this.
Well, that's true. There was a guy named Ricardo. What's his name? He's from Houston. He was one of the gurus. He got in trouble.
Right.
He was legal trouble with his whatever he was doing. But in any case, he would tell people go flip first and then buy rentals. But what we tell people is start buying rentals.
That's what.
Yeah, because what will happen is like flipping has there's different types of risks. And so when flipping doesn't go right, it can knock somebody off the horse and they won't get back on again.
No, this one's good. We know this one. This one will work.
All right, cool. So the rentals, what happens is over time you gain you gain knowledge, you build that foundation. So later on as the economy shifts, you're okay, right? Because you don't want to flip when the economy is going down. You can try it. There's strategies to do. But rentals is not very glamorous, but it's where most of the wealth and income was built.
He knows because when he was little, they'd hand us tiles, and then they learned to grout and seal. And
Oh, I love you guys, man.
That's-
Yeah.
That's how they.
That is awesome. So my son, I had him work for me too. And when he was 16, he got the truck. And
Well, that's what he had to pay for half, and we matched.
we did. So when Andrew wanted a new car, the reason I gave him the truck is it was already like 12 years old. And we had beat the living daylights out of that thing. But he would take the lawnmowers and paint. And he would go, he actually started, he was running the crews by the time he got out of hhigh school. Andrew was. Yeah. But he inherited this Z21, 1981 Z28.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, Dad, I want to repaint it because it was white with, faded stripes. I said, okay, here's what we do. I'll match you dollar for dollar, just like you did. Whatever money you raise, I'll match. He was 13. By the time he was 16, he had saved $6,000.
Well, yeah, they had about 5,000.
Yep.
So
So I matched him. He got $12,000 to repaint the car. Basically, they did what's called a media blast. they strip it down to the bare metal, then they
Yeah.
prime it back up. And so they've always had that. They've always had that. Thank goodness, both the two oldest ones, they're totally independent now. They own their own homes, married, all kinds of stuff. And now I go there and they treat me the way they treat me nice, make me food and all that. I'm like, this is pretty good,
Well, I'm
So-
telling him right now, while he's living at home, and that's what we were just trying to work out his plan now.
Yeah.
And so he said, okay, I want to put 40,000 in here, I want to save 25,000 to get a car. He wants to keep his truck, but he
Yeah.
needs something that's better gas mileage.
Right. So are you in the workforce now?
I'm a realtor.
Okay.
He has his
Awesome.
license now.
You guys, I tell you what, you have an interest in
But he's not in the workforce per se. He's
That's
working
okay.
for me. I mean, he is,
All right.
but he's still taking some classes. Well, he took this semester off, but might take a couple classes.
Okay.
And
All
finish
right.
up, but that's.
All right,
Are there
good.
any particular classes?
Well, here's what I was going to tell you. If you do you want to build out your brokerage business too? Like make that more of a business and like have income coming from that as well as your
Well,
properties
when I
and
just met with my financial planner, what I'm trying to do at this point,
Mm.
in the next 7 years, have about 9,000 in passive income.
okay.
And I mean, I enjoy doing this part. I enjoy
Right.
doing the regular transactions, but I
Right.
want that to get more passive income for me.
Yes.
So I can start switching over.
Okay.
And
Is your transaction mixture like what would you say it is between owner occupants and investors? Like what's the kind of ratio?
oh,
or,
I would say it's probably about 85-15. I mean, I've got 2 investors I'm working with right
Okay.
now, when I just signed up to do more, but.
85 owner occupants, 15 investors? Or?
Yeah, I would say.
All right. Would you be interested if you're and you guys you're on a team working together?
Yes.
All right. If you're interested after class, the class content comes from the vendor's training program. I get paid from. I'm a KW broker and a trainer, but I get paid a consulting fee to teach the class, and they pay me a royalty to use my name and my image, all this crazy stuff. You know, royalty income is like passive income for rentals. You don't pay Social Security tax on it. A royalty income.
Oh, okay.
Pretty neat. So in any case, so I get that. So I'm doing pretty good. But what I was going to suggest is at least entertain listen to how the program is administered. So if you like the content from the class, and the program is just more of that. So you probably love but what we can do is,
But I'm not really interested in that, although I do
Yeah.
help a lot of my clients. I just help somebody see the potential of this one house, because I do
Right.
houses too. We get like the C minus D, that we fix them up,
Yeah.
to maybe about a C plus.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there, because that's where a lot of your cash flow is.
Right.
But I also help buyers. I kind of do sort of that, those Magnolia people, Chip and Joanna.
Yeah.
I enjoy doing that too.
yeah. Well, reason I'm suggesting this is it's more of a business structure. So your model right now is more traditional agent structure.
Yeah, it's
So,
traditional with
yeah.
business, because most of the investors, I don't have time for your mess.
Right.
Professional people.
Well, that's why we do it. So the marketing, like this here, the marketing, when you do this, the marketing is going to drive more of these people to you and not these folks down here. That's why I think you should entertain it. Not really just for you, but really for, what's your first name? Garrett. Really more for Garrett. Like you can profit from it, but if you think about it, if you can modify your business model, like around here, I think it should be 60% investor, 40% owner occupant, just based on the numbers we see. If you could do that and do that within a year, not get rid of your owner occupants, keep them, right? Because you're making money doing that. But build out the investor side so that you have more of a business model. The reason is at some point, if you don't do something like that, when you want to retire, you just stop serving people and your income stops from your use of your license. But if you build the right team structure, the business structure, it'll survive you and you can still profit, or just hand it off to sell it, have them pay for it. That's what I'm thinking. I mean, I hope that sounds.
Well,
Yeah.
my dad's a commercial industrial broker.
Okay.
He does warehouses, he does
Yeah.
all the commercial
Yeah.
and industrial type properties.
Yeah.
But that was just something. And then of course,
Yeah.
like in '88, like, phew,
Yeah.
we're eating the $2 big bucket. Then when things are up, then that's when the air or all that.
Yeah.
But it was like that. My mom had a steady job.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay. Let's say let's do class first, and then you can have it. Then you can make a more educated decision just based on facts, and it's really more about how you want. If I can help you expand your field of vision.
Some of that, but then these other people, the low-hanging fruit, 600,000, like, boom, I'll get.
Correct.
And 6 weeks, I
Yeah.
get a $30,000 check, you know, so that's.
Right, yes, sir.
You said you used your smaller units, like your lower units, as a blanket mortgage?
No, I got rid of all that crap.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you sold them to purchase the larger.
Well, actually, that was, when I got rid of the old crappy stuff in there, that was actually part of the divorce. I hardly saw anything of that money. So this is Gary Wilson charting with a blank slate. I mean, I had a little bit, but not much. I literally put down 20% on the first one, financed with 80%. But over time, I was putting more money down. Yeah, I would do this if I was you, because you'll make more money, you'll make more commissions faster with investors than you ever will with owner occupants. You know, so. No, I kept them all. I'm really conservative. Because think about it. Here's the way my brain works. If I 1031 exchange, at the end of 4 moves, I got 16 units. But if I keep everything, at the end of 4 moves, I've got, let's add them up, 2, 6, 14, 30 units. What's better, 30 units or 16 units? 30 units. But that's partly why my curve was more like this. Like the people that exchange, it's more like that. But I didn't exchange. I kept everything. But I kept working on this. Now you're seeing just the result of 30, 34 years. The fact is I didn't get debt free until December 15, 2015, paid off my last mortgage. I got no personal debt. I got no business debt. Yeah. 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 Oh, yes, ma'am. Go ahead. I'm sorry. What's that?
The big dog program.
No, is that here locally in Houston? Or?
Yeah, they live in Dallas.
Yeah, I don't know if I know those guys. Yeah. My recommendation is anything that comes through KW, believe me, we've already screened them, checked them out. I would do that. Anything that's third party outside, they could be good, but we just don't know. We can't tell you.
No, I mean,
You
these
know,
people are like the fortune builders. The difference is that fortune builders,
Yeah.
they work all over the USA. These people, supposedly, they
Yeah.
just focus in Texas.
Yeah.
They charge like 20 or 50,000
yeah,
just to make it.
I don't know them, but I would do it.
Do you have an actual program that
Yeah.
they can follow?
Yeah, the vendor, we do recommend it. So they're one of our, they're looking to be like what's called a preferred vendor. And so we provide their content through the classes so we can control it. That way we know what you're getting, okay? And I went through it myself. I'm one of the pilot program members. I went through the pilot program. So I can tell you it does work. In fact, some of the stuff I'm teaching you here in class, I did myself, you know? Yeah. So this is only like $1,500. That's way better than $50,000.
Oh, yeah.
And you get the trainer to go along with it too.
That's very great.
Yeah. So that's what I tell people. Hey, at least go over to yourself to check it out, because right now it's what's called development phase. Or when they've done that, it goes into production and they charge. During development phase, guys, you get access to the trainer, the material, carte blanche. They don't. It's just it's the best. It's the least expensive time to do it, and when you get the most access, because they ensure everybody produces. Like you're gonna produce. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
do you have like a program that we can buy?
Yeah, that's
to
what.
Yeah, but
help us to
That
do
was
a
he was
book?
talking
Yeah, but I have to. I can only do that once we've had class, because I have to tell people class is over. It's our KW protocol, and then people that want to leave can leave, and anybody who's serious about their business will stay, and I'll show you how to do the program. But I'm not going to. All I'm going to do is show you how it works, and then you have to decide. I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to. It's not like you know how some of those programs will say, hey, do it today because at midnight the price goes up, that kind of stuff. None of that. We'll let that stuff in our market centers. We don't allow it. So this is the legit, real, what you see is what you get. You know?
Is that where you get access to a booklet like that?
Yeah, you'll get the original Word documents on all these things.
We are
Excel
going to-
spreadsheets,
And
absolutely.
we can use it? Or
If you do the program, you get all original everything. Yeah, carte blanche. They give you ownership access.
no?
It's pretty good.
With program.
Everything, branding, the whole 9 yards.
And that is coming after the.
Yeah. We should probably get started here, guys. Let's see.
I have to tell you, I have to leave at 4.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
I didn't realize it was 3 hours, and I'm sorry.
That's okay. Well, tell you what. How long? What time do you have to take off?
I have to drive home. I'm supposed to be home before 6, so I'm probably.
I'll kind of get done as much as I can by 5:30. All right.
I just want you to know it has
Oh, that's okay. No. All right. Well, I'm glad you do. Unfortunately, there's only 4 more classes in Texas next week, so next week is,
Where do you live? Did you tell us?
well, I live part-time in London, Ontario, Canada, and part-time in Florida. I'm hardly ever there. I'm from Virginia, right?
Where in Florida?
Lake City, Florida. It's way up north. It's between Tallahassee and Jacksonville.
Oh, for a short time. I lived in Lakeland.
I know exactly where it is, yeah. So we got California has the most market centers, followed by Florida. So I'll be in Florida January, February, March this year, teaching just nonstop. So in any case, next week I'll be in over east of here in Baymont, Monday, Houston Metro, Tuesday,
I can't believe you.
Kingwood, Wednesday.
Wife doesn't take care of in 1 week. No?
Well, this week and next week. I'm only teaching 8 market centers in Houston this time, yeah. And then we wrap up at Conroe, which is we're kind of near, a little bit northeast of Magnolia. So, okay, everybody ready? Okay. Oh, yes, sir. Oh, yeah.
So for your blanket mortgage you had, the 50% loan to value, what's the difference between taking it from the bank versus your own property?
Well, you are going to take it from the bank, but they're going to leverage, they're going to create what's called a lien on your properties. So you're not actually selling your properties. It's like a home equity line of credit on your own home, except it's on your investment properties.
What's the advantage of that versus?
You mean a non-collateralized loan?
Yes.
Well, I don't know any, I mean, you can get a personal line of credit, but a non-collateralized loan means you're getting money with nothing, no strings attached, okay? That's going to be hard for him to do at 21 years old.
No, he just wants to know why I'm using my property
Yes.
rather than getting a conventional loan from the bank.
Oh, to buy the new property? Because it puts him in control.
Yeah.
So in other words, you get that line of credit, you buy the property, and then you fix up the property, use the BRRRR method, buy, remodel, rent, refinance with its own brand new first mortgage. You will get a first mortgage, but after the fact, after you've increased the value, take those proceeds, pay back the line of credit. They'll increase the line of credit. Now you can keep going. What happens is, it's this. Over time, so actually, let me show you this, guys. Hey, guys, I'm going to show you something real quick, okay? All right. So down here, Genevieve, this is me borrowing money to buy the properties. I had to borrow to buy the properties. I didn't have a choice. I had to borrow money, okay? Yes, you can be financially independent doing this, but just try to go away for 3 months, okay? Up here, that's financial freedom. This is me borrowing strategically, right? I acquire the assets. I still borrow, but I borrow. It's creative. I do a lot of other creative stuff too. But this, where am I more in control? Down here when I have to borrow because I need to and I don't have any choice, or borrowing up here against assets I've already purchased if and when I want to.
Assets.
Bingo.
Well, so that would be like,
Yeah.
there have been times in the past where here's this great problem, I have to jump through all these hoops to try to satisfy the limit versus if I have a line of credit, boom, I've got that money right
That's
there
it.
to buy it.
You got it. The line of credit puts you in control. You can operate at the drop of a hat. When it gets competitive, remember this. The age-old saying in business is cash is king, and it's true in any economy. So when you're doing that, it allows you to access cash immediately because you already got the line of credit established. And who gets the best deals in the world? People that you come in with cash or people that have to borrow? Cash. Yep. So and by the way, I was telling Genevieve and Garrett at the break, this also allowed me to become financially free faster. I got out of debt faster, okay? And I wish I could hold you and hug you and have you feel that feeling. You know what I'm talking about? It's an amazing feeling when you no longer have that debt. I was in debt up to my eyeballs for 30 years, okay? That's no way to go through life, you know? It's stressful. I was on high blood pressure medication. So I mean, this is like an emotional thing for me because what it did for me, I want that for you. My hope and wish and prayer is that you will see this too, and you'll give yourself the opportunity to start here at the beginning. So Garrett, start where you are, man. Right here, right now with what you got. You might not have much, but start there. My first purchase was half of a house. Half a house. Double lending, yeah. What I'm going to show you coming up is how you can double lend more of your commissions too. Is that what you're asking, double lenders? No. Oh.
Good lender.
Oh, good lender. Oh, use community banks. Community banks who are portfolio lenders. Yeah, yeah. We don't use Bank of America and stuff like that.
Like Frost Bank or something, a bank in your community.
Yes. They're more. You can use private lenders too, yeah. portfolio lenders don't sell their mortgages. They do not sell their mortgages. I'm going to talk more about that later, but just know this. When a bank keeps their own mortgages in-house, they can be more flexible and more creative. Right? Yeah.
I know that,
Private vendor somewhere else.
A community bank portfolio lender. Just, yeah.
I
Yeah.
know that trying to get a loan, they are gonna go back and get the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And so some of us are newer,
Yes.
starting out, and you didn't have a great first year or something.
Yeah. So what
do
do-
you think community's gonna overlook that a little bit?
No, they won't overlook it, but they'll be more flexible. But the other thing too is think about this, guys.
They have their own products, they don't have to go to Fannie.
Correct. Exactly. Not only this, think about this.
But are they gonna be more open to taking?
Generally, they will. It all depends on where they are, because remember, all right, real quick banking lesson here. Bankers in banking, in their lending business, they have silos. This silo's for the duplexes, this silo's for the fiveplexes, this silo's for the strip malls, this silo's for, $500,000 houses. When they get too heavily weighted in any one silo, they'll stop making loans in that silo, right? That's why I always want to have 4 or 5 community banks that you can go to. The other thing, this is they have another term called the loans to one ratio. They can only lend only so much money to any one person. It's based on the bank's capitalization rate, right? So, I mean, that's why I always have multiple banks that I work with, because I knew I could get a bank from this bank today, and I go back tomorrow, I might not get the loan because I've exceeded the loans to one ratio. You follow what I'm saying? That's why a lot of times you get no's and you don't even know it, because they don't tell you, but that's why you get no's sometimes. So back to your question, Lori, or Lowry, excuse me. So far, how many of you, raise your hand if you would agree, you can probably make more commissions faster with investors than you can with owner occupants? Just so far, what you learned so far. So what happens is, this is what happened to me. When I first started doing this, I was going to this one bank called, it was Mount Troy Savings. And I asked him, I said, it feels like I'm just basically calling up and signing a paper. He said, you know why? Most other realtors come in here and their income's like this. He said, you've got these commissions coming in steady, like a regular paycheck. That's why we're giving you the loan. So when you work with investors, Larry, you'll have steadier cash flow coming in. It's going to take you time to build it up. I mean, this isn't like it's not like you flip the switch and the money comes out, but apply yourself now, and within a few months, you'll have definitely steadier cash flow coming in. And about a year later, the community banks are generally okay with a year versus FHA looking back 3 years. If they see your pattern, right, they're going to like, well, this person's got it going on. And in fact, this guy became a friend of mine. And, his name's Dan Poyer. We're still friends today, 20 years later. And looking back on it, he said the reality is you had no idea how good you looked to us, because at the time, this was when before the big giant recession. And what were banks doing in those years? They were offering 125% equity loans, all kinds of crazy loan packages that helped create the big bust. And here I was coming in, I just wanted to just borrow 50%, right? That's all I was doing. And that, plus I had all these commissions coming. Guys, I was literally, on average, I had about 22 pending transactions at any one time. I never worried about where my next commission was coming from. But I'm not superhuman, guys. I'm just a regular person, and you can do this. You can be in the same position, but you gotta kind of step up to the plate and gotta swing the bat. So would you agree? If you want to play baseball, you can't keep going to soccer games. You got to go to a baseball game, right? And ask the coach to put you in the game so you can start swinging the bat. So with investors, see, most of us, Genevieve and I were talking during the break. I appreciate the conversation too, by the way. But 85% of our business is owner occupants. And I know working with owner occupants is not going to really help you invest too much. You'll get some money, but you're not getting more knowledge from the owner occupants that you will from the investors. Investors, working with them, every transaction is a brand new learning experience, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
and I help them out a lot too, because they
Yep.
don't really know the real estate side.
Yeah.
And the legal aspect of it. They just want to flip it and make money.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you a big hug after class, by the way, too. 'Cause we're like, I swear we're like cousins or something. I mean, the way you everything you just described there, our families are exactly alike. So in any case, just know this: to master something, you've got to be really immersed in that game. That's the point I was trying to make. So in any case, back to this. Let's do the next marketing campaign. Okay, which is that's case study. Okay. Workshop. I love workshops, right? Few things to write down. Location is very important. Wherever you have your workshop is critical. You can definitely use this training room. In fact, I would encourage you to use this training room. It's really nice. You can also use you know how your municipality will have its own municipal offices, like the county office building, for example. Well, they generally have what's called a community room. It's a room that you and I can get as citizens of the community. You actually sometimes for free. Sometimes you got to pay $50. You can also use your community library, which is my favorite all time, and you know, church, mosque, synagogue, temple, wherever you worship. Usually, you can get a room for free. By the way, why would I like libraries the most? Like, what do we associate with libraries? Yeah. Yes. Books, learning, knowledge. Yeah. It's also a neutral site because people walk in, they'll walk up and see Keller Williams. They're like, okay, am I going to have to buy a house tonight or something like that? Go to a library. All you're thinking is, hey, all I can do is get smart, right? So library is a neutral site. Okay, now to prepare for the workshop, the night before, just Google real estate, and you'll get all kinds of articles and blogs on, you know, interest rates, the tax plan, what's happening with new construction, things like that. And bring that in, and that'll be your icebreaker. That's how you're going to get people to engage with you and engage with each other too, just getting them comfortable talking. You also want to bring in, I'm making a mess of your table here, I'm sorry. You also want to bring in, just like in a booklet, bring in samples of properties. Bring in samples of properties, okay? And definitely bring in some worksheets. Always bring worksheets with you. I mean, of course, worksheets on investing. Here's one, so, like this one, basic cash flow worksheet. So Genevieve, this is the one we used in the beginning when we help people get into investing. Real simple, you know, rents come in, taxes come out, that, et cetera. And then we give them the more advanced stuff later on. Like here's a real good online calculator. You probably would love this one. It's like a financial calculator's calculator, but for real estate. And then we have another one we brought down from commercial. That one right there called Opportunity Evaluator. More advanced, but don't worry about that now. Right now, just bring in the simple stuff. Get people started where they are, right? So have them working on the worksheets using the sample properties. Now, what does that remind us of? Where did we used to go every day when we were children? Bingo. One of the best marketing techniques you could ever use is create that neutral, supportive, nurturing environment where people are going to be more informed and not feel so nervous, okay? In fact, would you agree Keller Williams is a very heavily oriented training company? That's it, man. We win awards every year. So Gary Keller is a smart man. And he knows if he just helps enough other agents become smarter, he'll make more money. It's like Zig Ziglar said it. Help enough other people get what they want, you'll be able to have what you want, okay? Now, my first workshop had grown in 5 months to 78 people. That the librarian had come up with her counter. She said, you got 78 people, and our capacity is 75. You got to get another location after tonight, which I did. But up to that point, how much money would you say I had spent on that technique? Almost free. I mean, a little bit of paper, right? A little bit of paper, but almost free. We also learned some other things. If you could please write this down. People generally love smaller discussion groups. Would you agree? People love smaller discussion groups, like smaller groups. So what I did is, as this thing grew, I just broke people up into tables by subject, right? That table will talk about flipping. This table will talk about rentals, rehab, finance, you know, list goes on and on. And what I did is, as people came in, I would look for volunteers to sit at the individual tables. So I'd say, Aaron, right? I'd say, Aaron, would you please sit at the table for people wanting to talk about flipping? And let's say, what's your first name? Bill, nice to meet you, Bill. Let's say, Bill, you wanted to flip a home. Chances are you'd go to Aaron's table because he's going to lead a discussion on flipping, right? Kind of makes sense. But let's say Aaron's only done one flip. Is that necessarily a bad thing? Not really, because you're just one property away from each other. So you're more likely to, you know, ask him, hey, what'd you do first? What'd you do second? The thing I'm getting at here is you're creating an environment where people are comfortable, right? It's on purpose. It's the most respectful thing to do anyways. But let's face it, when people are more comfortable, they're more likely to start taking action. Heck yeah. So in any case, by the way, you'll have two types of folks. You'll have the followers and the early adapters. Followers are folks, they just always are following. They're going to see what somebody else does first, right? And then you have the early adapters, and early adapters are action takers, right? And when the action takers want their results. Right now. So who do we spend our time with initially? Bingo. Be an action taker, work with action takers, right? Get some results. And by the way, so let's say Bill comes back the next month and he's got his first property under contract. What does that show all of his followers?
That it works.
Yes. So what happens is over time, here's my personal story. I did this the first time. I had a whopping 6 people. It wasn't until my 3rd month before I had people coming to me saying, okay, I want to do this, I want to work with you, et cetera, et cetera. So what happens is over time your conversion rate starts to increase because more and more of the followers will start to participate. And it grows organically. Have any of you ever been to a RIA meeting, REIA, Real Estate Investors of America? Yeah. So yeah, there's all kinds of investor groups around here. The couple that run the big one, they're in Dallas here and also over in Austin. They live in Hippie Hollow right off Lake Travis. So I was a,
They wear clothes?
yeah, but they're suits and everything. Hippie Hollow, I think, was named like years ago, you know.
Oh, no, there's still naked people running
Really?
Yeah.
I was just there. Holy smokes. I stayed at Lake Travis for a week while I was teaching over there in Austin. I didn't see any naked people, though. So in any case, what I'm getting at is this, is we want you to help you build a group around yourselves that's our own brand and style. We're not going to charge them anything. We're not going to go in there and try to get them to buy all this stuff. We just want to inform them and help them make good decisions. Does that make sense? And that's how you build a long-term following. That's how Gary Keller did it with Keller Williams, largest brokerage company in the world now, right? By the way, my group, that first one, I've had multiple groups since then, but my first one, at about a year's time, leveled off around 200 people, but I was getting 6 transactions a month from that technique at that point.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, that's doing pretty good, but we have people doing way better than that. 400, 600. One fellow I know has 6,000 people in his group in Chicago. He started, probably six years ago. He's not KW now, but in any case, now he uses all his proceeds from that to buy his big buildings. That's what he does, right? Pretty smart guy. Cash basis. Okay, so back to this. Hey, real quick, just a quick check here. Raise your hand if you like the idea of doing a workshop. You just like the idea of it. All right, if you could do it jointly with someone else, would you be more willing and more likely to want to do it if you could do it with someone else?
Yes.
Amen. Let me show you the case study. We really advocate this. Working together. We love team building for all the new agents. We love team building in KW, right? Want to build teams. Yes, ma'am.
Now, would you have the workshop with other agents of yourself, or would you have a workshop
With the investors, absolutely. And sometimes what I'll do, Genevieve, is particularly for newer agents, if I can have them work with a niche group first. So, like for example, we've done workshops, investor workshops with our agents for people who are runners, photographers, musicians. So you're creating like a niche. You know what I mean? There's like a niche within a niche. And here's why: if we create a group of investors who are also photographers, how many agents are going to be part of that group? Probably none. You get all the goodies. You see what I'm saying? So we help them launch in like a protective cocoon. And then when you get it figured out, then you can grow big, turn on the gas and open it up to the public. So just know that when you open up to the public, you're going to attract other agents. So here's what I do. I say, look, I'm more than happy to help you. You invest yourself, you're coming up to the ranks. But this is my company. I built this myself. And if you want to get transactions out of this, you come join me and be on my team, and I'll help you do that. Otherwise, if you start poaching here, I'm gonna ask you politely to leave the group, okay? Because the group is for the consumers, right? And I created it. Does that make sense? So, and I'm not a mean person. I'm just telling you, when you go open to the public, you're going to attract some other agents. Just know that. Some of them were fine. I had one guy as a Century 21 broker. He owned an office, but I was his agent to help him buy investment properties.
Wow.
Yep, and he wouldn't let me ever use his name either in like testimonials and stuff like that. He said he couldn't let people know that. But because most agents aren't doing this, most agents are just saying, hey, look at the pretty carpet. Oh, look, investors want the financial data. Yes, ma'am.
So you said when you do it with someone else, you're getting from investors, but
Yeah, if you join together with another agent, that we do want that. We want you to team like you and Carlos would team up together. And then collectively, let's say you have different disc profiles. Let's say you're like an IS and you're a CD. You have what we call complementary disc profiles, and you would attract more people that way. Yeah. Yeah. You like that?
Both
Yeah.
speak. You both
Absolutely.
Share it all and
Yep. So
to
here,
the crowd.
so this is exactly what we advocate. So here's an example. This is Manisha Munakar, Tanya Smitherman. Beth Arnold, Manisha Munakar, Tanya Smitherman. Sorry. By the way, I appreciate we call this engagement. You're like totally getting everything, right? Yeah. So check this out. They did their first workshop March of 2018. They had 29 people registered, 24 showed up. That night, 4 of the attendees signed agency agreements to work with them and made appointments to get pre-approved. And they were literally showing houses the very next day. Now, is that?
A group? They did it as a group?
Yes, all 3 of them together.
Huh?
They split their commissions 3 ways.
Okay.
Yep. So how'd you like, is this the kind of results you want to see from your marketing? Yeah, we call it targeted marketing. You're being very specific and you're attracting, in any case, this even gets better. Check this out. So Beth and Benicia were full-time agents and Tanya was a full-time employee, right? In December last year, 2018, she retired from her day job. Beth contacted me in November saying, hey, can you come down here and celebrate because of what I taught them? I was in San Francisco, I couldn't go. But I called Beth back and I said, Beth, I'm just curious. How's that group of 29 doing? Now just take a wild guess, guys. Just shout from your heart. How big do you think that group of 29 had grown to in 8 months? Just shout it out. Almost 300. Yep. Yep. Pretty neat stuff. So let's do the commitment test. We'll go back and do more marketing here. Okay. So let's say you do the workshop and you do it every month for a year because you need to do this every single month. This is one of those repeat processes, right? And the thing I like about investors is they're repeat clients. They keep coming back, just like the investor clubs, right? See, first-time home buyers, I didn't like that because I had to get first-time home buyers every single month. With investors, they keep coming back, you know? So back to this. Let's say you do this every month for a year and you start off with 25 like they did, 29, let's just say 25, and it grows in 12 months to 300. So from your heart, I know it feels like you're guessing, but just develop your intuition. From your heart, how many transactions do you believe you're going to get using this technique? And write that number down real fast from your heart. That'll be your second number. And you want to keep track of your numbers. Keep adding your numbers up as we go forward. Okay. Have you guys liked this stuff so far?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
I love teaching this class. Man, hopefully it shows. I apologize about my eye. I woke up with it like this, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I got to teach a class today. And we were talking before class, Laura and I said, too bad this couldn't happen next Thursday on Halloween. I'd already had my mask on. So in any case, I think just a blood vessel popped or something like that. So back to this. What I want to do now, guys, is I want to switch gears. We've learned how to work with data to make better decisions where we invest in our clients. And we learn how to attract people using a couple of techniques. What I want to do now is shift gears and talk about how do we actually get the properties. Is it okay if we do that? How do we get the properties? All right. Well, you guys got quiet again. You guys okay? Everybody okay? All right. Okay. I'm going to show you how to work with those local community banks, okay? Before I do that, though, first write this down. Bank Tracker. Bank Tracker is an org. Yep. Have you used it before? Good tool. Bank Tracker was created by American University grad students and NBC News around year 2000 to tell us what banks have bad loans, okay? So it says here, troubled asset ratio. Remember, the loans to the bank are the asset. That's why it says troubled asset ratio. These are loans that are in trouble. You take this information to see which banks you want to go visit. Now, before you get too excited, please let me give you some background here. So I used to sell a lot of foreclosures. Has anybody here sold foreclosures before, REOs? You know what I'm talking about? You remember I said earlier this gray hair came from all the tenants? This gray hair came from the asset managers. So asset managers see when a bank sells mortgages, like Bank of America sells their mortgages. As a result, FHA says you've got to use an asset manager, right? And that makes our lives very difficult. I sold over 3,000 of those things, right? Got a lot of gray hair. So I finally got rid of them all. I had HUD, I had everything. Started working with the community banks. So here's what I want you to write down. Actually, you wrote this earlier. Community bank who are portfolio lenders, okay? They don't sell their mortgages, which means they don't have to use an asset manager. I mean, they can, they're just not required to, which means you and I have a better shot at working with them, okay? All right, so let's imagine we're in a bank branch. You know, tellers are over here and the managers are over here, okay? You guys are all managers now. We're looking for the person in charge. So up above their doors, it's going to say, you know, vice president, branch manager, something like that. All right, once we identify that person, we're going to approach them directly. This is an in-person script. So please, if you could write that down, in-person script. Okay. Now, here's the actual script. Everybody ready? and I'll promise I'll try to slow myself down. When I teach this class, people say, you just go faster and faster. And then tonight I'll hit my bed, I'll be like that. So, okay, so here's the script. Hi, I'm Gary Wilson, or your name, of course, but give him your name. You can give him my name, and I'll send you a referral. Yeah. No, use your name, obviously. So, hi, I'm Gary Wilson. I'm a realtor in the area. Okay, I'm a realtor in the area, and I have clients who are interested in properties just like yours. So, hi, I'm Gary Wilson. I'm a realtor in the area, and I have clients who are interested in properties just like yours. Now, at this point, we just raised their guard because we just told them we're realtors. We got clients who are like, okay, what's this about? Remember, they're busy, right? So we're going to lower the guard very quickly by saying this. We're going to say, I just want to sell one. Just like that. I just want to sell one. Whoosh, lowers the guard. And it brings them back to being open and responsive too, which is kind of important. Because we're now going to move into the pitch mode. Okay, this is a 3-sentence pitch. All right, so once we said that, hi, I'm Gary Wilson. I'm a realtor in the area. I have clients interested in properties just like yours. I just want to sell one. And here it is. So let's do one together. Let's do one together. And when you like the results, and actually the last sentence here, if you could look up, I'll show you, I'll demonstrate this to you. So let's do one together, and when you like the results, then perhaps we can do more. Okay. And what's your first name, by the way?
Carmen.
Carmen, that's right, yeah. So Carmen, now half the time Carmen's going to say no, right? But what's she going to say the other half of the time?
Yes.
Or something other than no. You'll get a couple of yeses. I mean, I did, but more often you get something like, you got to call, what's your first name? Nick. You got to call Nick. Nick's the attorney on the board who handles our foreclosures. And I'm okay with that. As long as the answer wasn't no, that means the script worked. I got the door open, right? Now once we have the door open, here's what we do next. All right? There's an acronym for it. It's the old, WWWWH, for who, what, where, when, how. So I would say, Carmen, thank you. Who's Nick? Where's Nick? How do I contact Nick? What's Nick's contact information? And when's the best time to contact Nick? Now make it more conversational than that, right? Otherwise, Carmen's going to feel like she's being interrogated. Like, hey, where's Nick? And where's So be your own natural self. Let people get to know you. By the way, one of the best things you can ever do for yourself in business, just let people get to know you. Even if you're kind of goofy like me, just be yourself, right? People will do business with you because they feel like they actually do know you. Yes, ma'am.
I apologize for missing it, but
Yep.
this was your script for who? Who were you doing
Oh,
this to?
you're gonna look for the person in charge of that branch.
The branch manager. Got
Yes,
it.
ma'am.
The bank.
Community
I got it.
bank.
Community bank, yeah. Now here's why, just to give you some more background. The term community in banking actually implies something. Legally, every other way, because they're engaging what's called community banking, community lending. So that branch manager is responsible for his or her own loan portfolio in their branch. They might have 5 branches in the bank, and maybe one of them is the head one, but make no doubt about it, each branch is responsible, just like a KW franchise. This franchise is responsible for the area. Yes, sir. Yeah, there's a couple things actually. So they have to, there's a term called redlining. In the old days, banks used to redline. They would lend here but not lend there. So they have to demonstrate that they lend so much money on a percentage basis in those areas. Right? They still call them redline areas, but they have to invest there. And that's one of the ways they say, well, we are putting money back into the area. Yeah. Redevelopment. So in the old days, we call them CRA neighborhoods, right? Now we call them opportunity zones. But in any case, back to this. Well, yes, ma'am.
So is this for troubled properties?
Yes.
We are looking.
Yes.
So we find out who has,
Yes, ma'am.
and then we go after.
You're going to get the listing. Yeah.
Listing.
That's when you said properties like yours.
Correct.
That's what I didn't get.
Yeah.
So these are for like REOs or.
Yeah. Now you can that ratio there, That's going to include not just the ones that are already been taken over in REO. See, REO stands for real estate owned. It's an accounting term in banking. In pre-foreclosure, what we all call a short sale, pre-foreclosure, the bank doesn't own it yet. But what you can do is you can find out through NOD notices, notice of default, whose consumers are behind, and you can approach them and say, it's difficult to do because I used to do it. You just got to get the properties under contract to list, and then you can deal with the banks. Does that make sense? Personally, I'd rather let them go into REO status, right? Let them get foreclosed on, because if they family can't save them and they can't save them, there's no chance you're going to be able to save them. So let the bank do its business, and then you step in and take the property
Well,
over.
the only thing for that is if you're gonna go knock on doors and you're gonna try to buy it yourself.
Pre-foreclosure?
and get it- Yeah, pre-foreclosure.
Yeah, yeah. So we would use a letter campaign. Actually, I'm going to show you a letter coming up next. Real good letter, yeah. So that's how we approach the actual owners themselves. But once it goes back, pleasure to meet you, by the way. Yeah, yeah. Hey, if you have are you really interested in this kind of stuff, like your own investing and stuff like that? Take one of these. Hopefully, these are. Yes. Okay, we got to. So, I can call you if you want to be in the program. You're supposed to be. You have to sit in class. I'm just going to say you sat in class. Yeah. If you want, I can call you there like maybe tomorrow or something if you want, and I'll just tell you who all's in. If you want to do it, you can. If you got a card or something, I'll call you. All right. So back to this. All right. A couple things. Because we're dealing with small community banks who are portfolio lenders, a lot of times the people you're dealing with, you might even already know them. Your children might play soccer with their own children, stuff like that. Yes, ma'am.
So the REO.
Correct. The bank's already officially taken it. Yeah, some banks will do auctions. Some banks have their own, like they're already working with the realtor, stuff like that. But what I do is, so let's say Carmen says no to me though. What should I do 3 months later? Go back again. Because you'll find that you'll have situations like this. Like, what's your first name? Anna. That's my daughter's name. So Anna, I've gone back before and they would say, thank goodness you're here. We could not remember your name. We were using the bank president's neighbor's nephew, something like that. It wasn't working. Can you sell this property? So you just never know when they're going to take on somebody new. The bigger banks are really difficult. The small banks are much easier. And they never want to just work with one agent. I've never got an exclusive on an entire bank. I never was able to do that. But I would get individual listings. Yeah.
The point here is to lease.
Yes.
In foreclosure.
Yeah. Well, they're going to take it back first in foreclosure. Then you're going to get the listing. And the reason I like that is it's a cleaner transaction. It's a neater, cleaner transaction. Because then the buyer then gets, they have the title report run, they get title insurance, it's neater and cleaner. I've had investors go to share sales and walk away and literally not know what they got. Because if you go to share sale, you don't just get the property, you get everything associated with the property. The back water bills, the back taxes, everything else. Yep, exactly.
It's homesteaded, otherwise it's a
Yep.
6-month right of redemption.
That's
But
right.
then you can buy the right of redemption from them.
Yeah. We actually have a document that gives all the state rules on every state. Yeah.
How can I recognize the community?
If you Google community bank in Houston, you'll get there's lists of them. They can't call themselves a community bank unless they meet certain requirements. Yeah. So they're easy to identify. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah. Yep, that's it. In the beginning, I got nothing but no's. Right? In fact, in the beginning, I would go in as myself, just represent myself to get my own properties, not as an agent. And what's interesting, when I started wearing like business casual, like I learned to not wear a suit, just business casual, right? But not jeans and sweatshirts. That was not going to work. But business casual, I started getting better responses. But I thought it was more associated with me representing a client as opposed to me representing myself. I think it was probably a combination of those two things, actually. But there's another one you can do yourself, too. You can use this to get your own properties. Just know this, if you go and represent yourself, they're going to want you to have cash. Yeah. But if you represent a client, they're more likely to entertain somebody getting another loan to buy the property and all that kind of stuff. Yes, ma'am.
How do you know from looking at
Oh, the gold bar. So the gold bar is that particular bank, and this is 0 here. So this gold bar, they were at around 7-8% in default. Yeah. Now they give you a chart. You know, so have you seen it, Carlos, lately? They switched from the graph to a chart where they give you the actual dollars and percentages. Yeah. So I have it on my computer too. I look at it all the time. Wherever I go teach, I'm always looking for good old Gary Wilson, right? In fact, I've done joint ventures with my students before. If any of y'all that actually do this, do the training, we do all kinds of stuff together. It's not just learning how to make commissions. We do things together, you know, buy properties and stuff. Okay, you guys like this one? Well, take a wild guess how much this one costs. Totally free. In fact, the people you're dealing with, if you think about it, the really only real difference between this and a regular transaction is you'll have like a disclosure because it's either pre-foreclosure or foreclosure. But the folks you're dealing with, in this case, Carmen she runs the bank, and Nick is the lawyer on the board, is that they're business people. Who'd like to have more business people in your business? Isn't that true? Always ask the veterans, guys. They'll tell you, working with business people makes it way easier because they're more decisive. I mean, they're action takers and they're decisive, right? Okay, let's do this. Let's do the commitment test. Would it be reasonable for me to ask you to visit a branch a week for the next year? Does that sound reasonable? Just one a week. All right. Now, some will be repeat visits. So in other words, if Carmen says no to me, I'm going to keep going back every 3 months. So let's say half your visits are repeat visits. From your heart again, how many transactions do you believe you're going to get from this technique? So from your heart. So you'll write that number down. Go ahead. Yeah. Yeah. Visiting a branch a week for a year. I'm sorry. So 50 visits, and half will be repeat visits. Yeah. In production, you'll probably do more than that. I'm just trying to give everybody the same criteria. So 1 branch a week, so 50 visits in a year. How many transactions from that? Yeah. Yeah. Well, I know students that this is all they do. This is the only technique they do. You know? You want to get the listing. Yeah. Oh, yes, sir. Yes. Correct. You guys understand what he's saying? So when big banks sell mortgages, they're pulling together what we call a tape, basically a block of mortgages. They sell them to Wall Street, big investor firms, who turn around and sell shares of those funds to us. We can invest in those funds. You can go online and Google, I want to buy shares of Fannie Mae, right? It's a different mutual fund. Community banks, though, they're not selling their mortgages. They've kept them in-house. Now, having said that, Phil, we'll tell you, over the years, I did have some of the community banks call me up and say, can you just sell the notes? Right? So they would give me, not in a package, but they would give me a list of all the notes, the ones that are in like 90-day NOD status, get ready to go to lawyers and file. And I would do that sometimes, and I didn't really do it a lot because I didn't really like it. I mean, it was such a mess because what happens is when you buy a mortgage, you get the owner of the house, you get that too. And you got to then now you got to foreclose on them or do some kind of a workout. A lot of work, okay? What was happening is the big hedge funds were coming in and buying up big giant blocks of mortgages from Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and all that. I mean, $100 million tapes. And they would just start, just crazy activities. A lot of stuff you never even saw on the news. In fact, you know that the movie The Big Short? Even The Big Short didn't talk about some of this stuff. And so it was kind of a painful thing to watch because some people, it takes 2 people to have a bad loan, the lender and the borrower, right? But there were situations where little old ladies in their 80s were, losing their houses. And I'm like, I'm out. I'm not going to do that, But unfortunately, these guys were like, they used some pretty strong measures like, get these people out of there. Now, I made a lot of money doing it, but I eventually started working with just the small banks, okay? And with those small notes, it wasn't as bad. It wasn't like the dirty, you just beat them over the head, get them out of there kind of stuff, So, yes, ma'am.
So if I get one listing, for example, do I need to sell it for that price, or I'm going to increase the
No, you still want to do your market analysis. You want to treat it like any other listing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So sometimes the bank will cover their cost plus some extra money. Sometimes they'll take a hit on it. Sometimes they'll sell for less than the balance on the loan.
And who pay us?
What's that?
Who pay?
Oh, the bank's going to pay your commission. Yeah, yeah. Now, there's a lot more to do. I could spend hours on that because I actually used to be a banker, but we really should probably move on. I just want to make sure everybody feel good with the technique, like how you go to approach a bank.
Yeah.
And now, why would we ask you to do this now when foreclosures volume is down? Why would we ask you to do it now? Bingo. Do it now. Get prepared now, because when it happens, you'll already have the relationships, okay? Yeah. You guys like this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured you would.
I didn't know that.
It's so easy, and it doesn't cost a dime. It just takes a little bit of gumption to get out there and put yourself out there, you know?
Do we
Okay.
need to pay a commission to them? A fee?
No. See, with asset managers, they take a referral fee from what you make from them, but with these community banks, there's usually no asset manager. So whatever commission you make, you keep. That's your commission. So the bank pays you to sell their house, just like Carlos would pay you his commission to sell his house. Yeah. Yep. So, okay. Pardon me? At first, the banks usually play hardball. They're like, nope, this is what we want, no negotiating, blah, 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 blah. Guess what? You show up with a cash offer, they will definitely negotiate. Yeah. So when they play hardball, just know that's part of their lawyers are telling them to do that. That's what they're telling them. And so are the investors, by the way. See, a bank is really just people like you and I who've invested in the bank. That's what a bank is. It's other people pulling funds together to be able to loan money out. Unless they're doing participating loans and things like that. So a bank is an entity that has shares of stock just like any other company. And so you and I can own shares of a bank, okay? All right, you guys ready for another one?
Yeah.
All right, okay. Let's do this. How about if you take a picture of this? There's this screen here and there's two screens in the back. I just want you to have the exact wording and then I can focus on the language patterns, okay? I'm going to give you the science behind the wording. So if you just have the wording, you'll be okay. And by the way, while you're doing that, I'll just explain how the thing developed. So years ago, I had a client who wanted a fourplex. Okay, yeah, 4-unit building in that area. And so I'm sending him properties, right, Genevieve? He's doing his. I always have my clients do their own due diligence, right? I want them to make intelligent decisions. So he calls me up and he asks me, he says, hey, Gary, is there anything else out there? Have you ever had a client call you up and ask you, is there anything else out there? Like we're magicians. Well, the answer is yes. There is. Remember we talked about our tax assessors database? When I was here last time, guys, I think you were using a realist as your interface. So a realist means you have direct access to your tax assessor database, okay? So all I did is I said, okay, computer, give me all the fourplexes in that area, right? All right, real quick, let's do the envelope first here. And I'll go back to this. So envelope, please write this down. Number 10 legal. That's the envelope we use. Number 10 legal, okay? Number 10 legal. And always handwrite their name and address, okay? Always handwrite their name and address. Both yours and theirs, by the way. And the reason is tonight we're all going to go home and get our barcoded mail, the metered mail, glossy postcards, and what happens to all that mail? Yep. And what about the letters where your name and address is handwritten on the envelope?
I'll open it within the first sentence. Then you
We know what?
a million of those every, but I'm sure other people.
Well, check this out. I've seen hundreds of letters. So let's go through it. Let me go through the letter first, and then it'll make sense, okay? What do you get these language patterns? So let's say, what's your first name?
Andrea.
Andrea. So Andrea, let's say, Andrea, you get this. I mean, if you get the envelope, probably you'd at least be curious enough to open it up, right? So let's say she opens it up. First thing she sees, by the way, what are you not seeing up above this here area here? Whoosh, get rid of it. It's costing you response rates. Now, in the commercial world, we use a different letter, right? Because you're generally dealing with businesses and things like that. In the mom and pop residential world, this is the letter we use. So first things first, dear Andrea, right? Dear Andrea, thanks. I'm writing to you about your property located at 17 Elm Lane in Etna. Now, if you own that property, would that get your attention? We're going to capitalize on your attention by using what's called a positioning statement. Positioning statement the design is to require the reader to have to read what's next, okay? And how do we do that? What part of the brain do we go to? The conscious or the subconscious? Subconscious, yep. So here's how this works. I'm not suggesting you sell your property if you don't want to. By the way, there's some NLP in here. What did we actually just suggest to Andrea? When I started, Genevieve, I started really becoming a student of the game. I was taking psychology classes, reading psychology books. You know what I found out? You can't make anybody do anything they don't want to do. But people who are predisposed, you can definitely help them you can get a higher response rate.
Oh, yeah, because their RAS is activated.
That's exactly right. Reticular activation system. So whenever we start, here's the language pattern. Whenever we start something in the negative, I'm not, this is not, he's not, she's not. What's the human brain wired to go and do next? Yep, exactly. So subconsciously, it's one of those auto functions. If it's not this, then what is it? We give her a statement of fact first, which is this. However, inventory is tight right now. Now let's face it. She's got a fourplex, and we just told her inventory is tight. What's she thinking right now? Yep. Then we continue that sentence with what's called a power statement, which is this. And I have clients, plural, like Mr. Matajasic in this example. All right, one quick pause here, guys. This is a real, and you can write this down. This is a real person from our database. Last name only, and always get the permission first. That's what you want to write down. Always get permission first. We don't make this stuff up. Your reputation is too critical to fake it. This is one that's got to be real. This is not a broadcast mailer. I'll explain how we use this later on. Okay, who want to buy a property for you in a building in this example? Just like yours in your area. Now, in your opinion, in that power statement, starts here, ends here, in that power statement, what part of it would you say is the most important part? Just shout it out. Well, just in the power statement here. And I have clients like Mr. Matajasic, when I buy property just like yours in your area. It's the name. It is the name. Now, everything, the reason we call this a power statement is this is powerful. Everything in here is powerful. I got clients name their property, type of property specifically, just like yours in your area. But would you agree putting somebody's actual real name in there is a bold move? I mean, for me, it took guts, but boy, does it work.
Well, yeah, it does get more response.
It makes it more real.
For properties, I do that.
Yeah.
Like initial a name or name initial.
Yeah. It just makes it more real. Like we can all say we got clients, but to name somebody by last name, boy, that takes guts. And does it work? So we've done lots of split testing. Like we have people, I say send me your letters and I'll critique it for you. I've seen all kinds of letters. But this is one I use myself too, by the way. Okay, now, that's why I specifically sought you out. Now, multiple people get the letter, just each one's name specific, property specific. We just want each person to feel special. And in this case, Andrea, right? And then we make the offer. Make her feel special, then make the offer. Even if you're just curious about what your property would sell for, please let me know. Be glad to give her a free evaluation. Now, is there any fluff at all in this paragraph? Not 1 ounce of fluff. Is there anything in here at all about me in this paragraph? That's the other big thing I see people make a mistake on is they inevitably want to put in there, I'm ABR, I'm CRS, I'm number 1. Get rid of it. It's just, the people don't care, right? Genevieve, people don't care about that stuff. What they care about is who? Who do they care about? Themselves. So check this out. Look at how many times we use the word you or your in this paragraph. I'm writing to you about your property. I'm not suggesting you sell your property if you don't want to. That's 5 times in the first 2 lines. We've actually used you or your 10 times up to this point right here. 10 times. Here's what I want you to write down. One of my favorite coaches, a guy named Dan Sullivan, up in Toronto, Ontario, he runs a program called Strategic Coach. So it's $25,000 a year, and it's worth it. He told us, this is going back a couple years, he said, look, whenever you do direct response marketing, in this case, targeted marketing, we're highly targeted, we're pre-selecting the audience. We're not just broadcasting this. Always use the word you or your early and often. That's what you want to write down. You or your early and often. Make it all about you, okay? About them, of course, I'm sorry. Often, yep. By the way, you guys like this letter? There's no such thing as a perfect marketing campaign, but I can tell you this, you'll get much higher response rates from, I mean, Genevieve, would you agree? More higher response rates than this than you will from most other letters. And it's not yellow letter. I've had students actually handwrite this, and you get higher response rates. It goes up by about 3 percentage points, by the way.
Because a lot of people don't realize that's a machine now.
There are, it's a mechanical device. Yeah. I looked at that, I'm thinking, I don't really need, we do a sort merge. So we use Word and Excel, and it plops in the name and the address automatically. And then the girls have a digital signature stamper. So it's my signature, ink, and all that. But we have students that do handwrite, and they do get higher response rates. Yes, ma'am.
Letters, don't we have to include
You do. Yep. Yes. So here you definitely tell them you're a realtor, but down here, if you notice, I don't have the disclaimer. You know why? Because in this example, we already knew that this person was not under contract so the disclaimer is this: if you don't want to do the further research, you got to put in here, if you're already under contract with another broker, this letter is not intended to be a solicitation of your
Well,
business.
you have to put that regardless,
Yep.
because by the time you write
Yeah.
that, out, it could go in a
Yeah, I would recommend it. I know in my brokers, we just tell everybody just to put it in there, because when you're in real estate, the old saying is location, location, location. Well, when you're a broker, guess what that saying is? Disclose, disclose, disclose. Yep. 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 Oh, wow. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. If you're already under contract with another brokerage company, this letter is not intended to be a solicitation of your business. Yeah. Your broker will have, for your market center, you'll have your assents that they'll give you. Yeah.
Gary, this is more like
Yeah.
if I wanted to make
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
that's not a problem.
Nope. No, in fact, if you do the training program, you'll be what's called a certified investor agent. You can't use that unless you've been trained.
Yes.
That's a rule there.
There
But-
is a class for that. What's
Yeah.
certification?
Plus, I'm going to tell you, when we're over class, we're getting actually pretty close here. If you're interested, I'll do that. I have to make sure you're only interested in doing that, and then I'll tell you more about that. Yeah. But for this right here, let's say we do this, what do we say? Let's say we do 25 letters a month, and we do that for 12 months. So you're going to have 300 letters go out. How many transactions do you believe you'll get from this technique, sending out 300 letters in the year? So write that number down real fast from your heart, and that'll be your fourth number. And if you could, please go ahead and add up your four numbers. If you haven't done that so far, add up your four numbers. So you got the booklet, the workshop, the banks, and the letter. That's the four numbers. And while you're adding your numbers, I want to emphasize something here. You know how I said this is not a mass mailer? It's really not. We're not sending this out to the world. We're specifically matching supply, the supplier, the person who owns it, with the demand, the person who wants to buy it. Now think about that. When we control supply and we control demand, in terms of real estate brokers, what do we get to collect more of? What do we call those commissions where we get the listing side and the buyer side? Your office is intermediary, double lenders or dual agency commissions. A lot of agents in Texas say, well, we're told we can't do that. That's not necessarily true. Your office becomes an intermediary, right? And you have to disclose. Like if I'm working with Genevieve and I've got her property listed, right? And Carmen approaches me about the property. As soon as a meaningful conversation, I've got to say I'm already representing, right, Genevieve?
You've got to give them the IAB.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So the answer is yes. Some brokers, as though the ownership group says, we don't want to do that. Most of them say, heck yeah, because you think about it, you've done commercial work before, right? Do commercial agents just want to get one commission, or they want to get like 2, 3, 4? Commercial agents want to get everything they can on that transaction. So it's not like it's illegal, it's just people unfortunately do things incorrectly sometimes. And the rest of us have to pay the price for that. Yes, ma'am?
So you get this person.
Yeah, it's really your tax assessor database, it's your property records, it's county level. So for example, I'll give you something right out of the training program. Actually, back to our example. Lowry and Carlos, they're flipping a home, and they know that they want to flip it to the most common buyer, we call the avatar, person with family with 2.3 kids, who probably wants like a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom house. Do we want to send that letter out to all those 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom houses? I mean, you can if you got a big team, but what we do is we show you how to use public records and how to get the probate, which is decedents, bankruptcy, foreclosure, landlord-tenant cases, divorce cases, all that. And then we look for the match on the zip code. Remember Melissa Data gave us the zip code? We just do a zip code match and only send the letters to the owners of properties in those zip codes within the school districts who are going through bankruptcy, divorce, probate, all that kind of stuff. Yes, some counties, it's easy to get the data. Some counties, remember, Texas is a non-disclosure state. So,
Oh, yeah, but as soon as you die, boom, it hits the clerks.
Heck yeah.
And you get 20 or 30 of those, oh, I'm sorry,
Yep.
chasers, what they call them.
yep. So what we do is, in fact, I think you guys are lucky, because don't you have Remind interface with your MLS? Remind will give you some of this stuff. Yep. Remind, R-E-M-I-N-E. So R-E is real estate, and mine is like mining for gold. Yeah. So Remind. There's another tool called Revo Gateway. Again, you got to pay for this stuff. I want you to, for those who do the training, I'm going to show you how to do this yourselves, because I want you to know how to do it, and then later on, when they pay for services, you'll know what you should be paying for. Okay. Okay. So back to this. Let's add up our 4 numbers, and we're going to have a wee bit of fun for about 3 minutes. Who wants to have fun for 3 minutes? Woohoo! Okay. Raise your hand if you got your 4 numbers already added up. If you've already done that. Okay, Nick, what'd you get? 207, okay. And how many closings have you had just like in the last, just this year, so far this year? Okay. You're in the game, man. You probably just need, how long have you got your license? He's probably the point, you probably just need more like the strategic stuff, right? Yeah, because you already work with people. You already know the paperwork and all that kind of stuff, right? Okay, how about Genevieve and Garrett? Did you do your own numbers separately? Did you do them together? Hey, what'd you get? 64. And anything happening so far? Are you starting any canvassing type stuff or any type of marketing, or what's his role with
Oh, well, he does have more of showing agent and buyer agent. He's
Gotcha.
taking stuff off my plate, but actually, just my plate.
hot diggity dog?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that counts. Yeah. I tell you what, the referral business is really robust with investors, especially because right now, I don't know what's happening here, guys. I noticed this in the last time I was here a couple years ago. The level of foreign ownership is increasing dramatically. I don't mean just out of state. I mean a lot of Canadians are down here investing and people from all over the place, right? So once you demonstrate yourself that you know how to work with investors, believe me, you will get some collateral referral business. Okay, let's keep going here. How about Carmen? What'd you get? Just don't be shy. For like if you were to guess, just say like 3, 2, 1, boom, whatever number pops in your heart. You're letting your brain take over. Trust your heart. You got to trust your heart. So real fast. 3, 2, 1. There you go. Okay. Now, have you been in? Are you a pretty new agent? Fairly new. Have anything happening so far?
Yes.
Oh, what'd you get? What's happening so far?
One investor.
Okay.
He wants to buy another property, and I have been sending letters, but they haven't contacted me.
Yeah, you need to use the right letter. Yeah.
Yes.
So let's put one there. Okay. And what's your first name? I'm sorry again. Isabel. Thank you. And what was your projection?
22.
Ooh, that's close. So, and how about actual, like just so far this year? How many transactions so far this year?
Well, pretty much in the past 3 years, I have been working with that, but I work under them, so I haven't.
Yeah.
There are so many transactions with different people on the buying and leasing side, but then again, for all, was to add what I had.
Okay. Okay, good. Okay, excellent. Okay, what's your first name? Shirley, what was your, did you write numbers down, projections for the 4 marketing campaigns? Okay, what'd you get? 75. Ooh, another close one. So far, you're the closest one. We measure, like whenever a program is being developed, we measure everything. And we have something called the PACE, which is basically a statistical average at the end of a year is 77.6. You're the closest one so far. So 75. And how many actual closings have you had so far this year?
I started October 1st.
Wow, you're brand new. You still shine. Everybody give her a hand. Hey, welcome aboard. Okay, so we're going to put an asterisk here because you're a star. Okay, Aaron, what'd you get?
I put 49.
49? And how about just so far this year? Oh, you're pretty new also? Welcome aboard, man. When did you join?
About 3 weeks ago.
Nice, okay. Okay, anybody else want to call out the numbers? How about over here? Okay. And how about actual numbers of, good for you. Oops, wrong color. 22. Okay, yes, ma'am. What's your first name? Sharia, nice to meet you. Okay, 4. How about way in the back over there? Phil, or what did you project?
I got 45.
45, okay. And 5. And please forgive me, what's your first name sitting right in front of Phil? Yeah. Yeah, Patricia, that's right. Patricia, what would you get? That's okay. That's okay. Yeah. Well, but there's no like wrong numbers here. These are all the right numbers for you. It's based on your field of vision, the people you know, the books you've read, things like that. And also your, what we call your paradigm, which is like sort of like your disc profile. Like if you're more of a conservative S or C kind of person, you're going to have lower numbers. If you're a DI, right, you're going to have higher numbers, right? Yeah. 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 Well, how many have you had this year so far? 8? Good. Okay. Well, here's the cool thing, guys. These are your numbers from your heart, right? Now, it's what you believe. So if you believe it, you can achieve it, right? Now, here's where success comes in, okay? Successful people write these things down, okay? And the reason is when we write them down, they're more likely to become real. It goes from in here to out here. This is why I had you do this all day long. Have y'all had Bowl 2.0 here yet?
Yes.
You're going through it right now? Just finished it? Okay, perfect timing. Bowl's going to get you pumped up. Are you the, I'm Gary, by the way. Bob, are you the OP? Are you, oh, okay. What's that? Oh, nice to meet you, Bob. Well, we just, it's all about, you know how in Bold it's all about believing, right? It's all about believing, okay? You got to see it here first. It's an inside job. So Patricia, when you said earlier you're over-projected, there's a famous saying from a guy named Og Mandino. He says it's better to shoot for the stars and hit the moon than shoot for the moon and hit a rock. So it's a habit-forming thing. You get used to over-projecting so that you push yourself. You constantly raise the bar. You might not hit the bar, but you probably did a lot better than you would have done otherwise. Does that make sense? So always push yourself, and don't be discouraged if you don't get 110 transactions in a year because you only got 70. 70 is pretty darn good, right? Okay, so let's do this. Let me show you some case studies of other folks that have done this, and then you can see. These are more case studies. Here we go. All right, so these case studies are going to include property management, okay? The reason is you already know property management is officially in what we call incubation, right? It's Gary Keller bought a software program for a property management company, and when he looked at the records of the people that were on there, that were running the software, about 30% of them were KW people, right? So it's now in incubation. And I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know, Bob, if you know any more than I do, but it's coming down the road, I don't know what it's going to look like. Yeah.
Don't know yet.
Yeah. But the good news is I'm glad because it's a huge source of contact information, another lead source. We used to be scared of it, but not anymore because it's a great source of business. It's a necessary part of the business. The challenge is most people are kind of stink at it. So we want to kind of have our own culture in there. Okay, so Justin's one of those examples. He had property management, did the training program, and he doubled his business in the next year, his property management business, and he bought 7 more properties himself. How many of you find that really appealing? Like if you could do this and buy your own properties too? Well, that's what this is about. We want to help you earn commissions so that you can be in a position to buy your own properties. Does that make sense? Okay. Kate Wells, I'm sorry, that's not Kate. They mixed them up. Grace is from Indiana. So she helps other people buy them, earns commissions. She manages them also, and she also buys her own. 3 streams of income. Actually, you might want to remember that because we're going to talk about 3 streams of income. Here's Kate Wells. First day, first script, first client, right out of the gate. Would you say she was an early adapter? And early adapters are action takers, right? So how many of you feel like you are action takers, by the way? You're an action taker. Like you see stuff and you got to be, right, Genevieve? And look around the room, and you're doing pretty good. I mean, I'm not trying to put you on a spot, but I feel like we're kindred spirits. So.
I'm not doing too bad.
Yeah. Well, it's nice having examples right here locally in your market center who are already doing this stuff. Doesn't that help you? Feel like you can do it too? Okay. John McCann was another U.S. airline pilot, joined KW, took the training. It simplified his prospecting, good source for repeat business, working with investors, simple and efficient. Okay. Now, let's see. Oh, I love this guy. Does he look happy? It's not because he's from Cleveland. Anybody been to Cleveland before? I probably should be careful saying. Well, what happened is I used to have my own brokerage company. I merged it with Keller Williams a little over 7 years ago, all right? And I was on this little Sunday morning business program, and he saw it, and it must have been syndicated or something. He called Keller Williams and said, I want to speak to Mr. Wilson. I want to be an investor agent. So they got me on the phone, and I said, well, Dave, I'm not aware of any kind of a training program to train you, but I'll train you. Come join KW. I'll put you on my downline, and I'll train you, okay? And he was with ERA. Anybody remember ERA brokers? So that's where he was with. He said he was going to retire. And Mr. Wilson, I'm stuck. He's working, nothing's changing, he's stuck. Anybody feel like you're stuck before? Well, it's time to get messing around. Do something for yourself today. Like take action today that generates tomorrow's results. Does that make sense? Because if we don't, what do tomorrow's results look like? Just like today, exactly. Any case, here's why this is so important. Remember the first 2 paragraphs I put up beginning of class, that agent mixture, transaction mixture? What that translates to is any given day, 9 of us are competing for 7 transactions, okay? 99% of agents doing the same marketing day in, day out, getting the same results. There's only 5 new listings actually sell per year per agent. This is from NAR, by the way, okay? 80% of agents don't make their living expenses. 90% don't renew the license the first time. I was shocked when I saw that. Do you know what the statistic is? He's on the computer. Around here, in any case, this is the national average. 90% of agents don't read a license. Only 5% of us actually do thrive. Raise your hand if you want to be the 5 that thrives. I think I asked that before. Well, good, we're in the right place. Okay, well, this is one surefire way to do it. They gave me a page out of their material. I wonder if it's in my teacher's guide. We figured by now, you be getting this. Do you feel like you're getting the big picture? Right? So just real quickly, let's say you never met me. I never came to teach class and you're just working predominantly with owner occupants. And that's okay right now, but as the economy shifts, you don't want to have one main source of business. You want to have a couple of sources of business. Not only that, it's typically a 1-to-1 ratio. I mean, like 1 client, 1 commission. We want you to not be at risk and come over here and put your investor agent hat on, work with someone like me, right? When I paid for my first mentor, I went out and bought 10 new properties that next year, $1,000 a month, and I got 10 new properties. I needed property management, so I might as well just go ahead and tell you about it, okay? When right now, I don't know what the corporate version is going to look like because they haven't told us, but I know right now when it does work, it's usually because it's a separate entity. Like in my market center, property management is a separate entity, tax ID, separate email policy, separate broker of record. That's how we do it. So in any case, here's why we do it. You still get commissions because these people keep buying and selling. And now you also get a management fee. You got 2 sources of income. Everybody with me so far? And what do these tenants want to become sometimes? Bingo, 3 streams, right? It gets even better. If we want to invest ourselves, hey, raise your hand if you're kind of serious about the investing thing, like your own investing. Would it be safer for us to buy properties from people we don't know? Would it be safer for us to buy properties from a portfolio we're already managing for other people? Much safer. And let me rattle off the fees. So you also get, in addition to your management fee, you get a leasing fee to lease a vacancy, lease application fee, lease renewal fee, pet fee, smoker fee, nuisance call fee. Some of those fees go to the owner, but we keep most of them. We charge the owners a 10% override on maintenance and repairs, which is kind of typical. We also charge the contractors a 10% override on maintenance and repairs. That's kind of our own little trick and secret there if you want to write that down. Here's why Gary Keller likes it. So if you look at Chapter 7 of the Anaheim recording of Family Reunion, Chapter 7 is where Gary is on that panel with Jay Pappison and some other guy, I can't remember his name. But he told us officially KW Brokers mortgage is in production, and that's when he told us property management is in incubation, okay? And here's why. It's because of the sources of data. So you got contact information on owners, tenants, obviously, and all the entities you deal with, municipal folks, utility people, the contractors, again, of course, attorneys, lenders, appraisers, inspectors, insurance people. That's just 10 right there, multiple times when we have all their contact information. What can we do as real estate agents when we have all that contact information? What can we do with that information? Market to them, absolutely. And then we have to pay one dime for all that information. Not one dime. Just moving on here. I do like flipping better. Flipping's just a lot more fun, right? Now, where would you say more wealth has been built over years? Flipping or rentals? Rentals. But flipping's more fun. So I know in our example, Carlos is going to get the commission when the flipper buys it. He'll also get the listing side when she puts it back on the market. And 30% of the time you get the buyer. That's a statistic on that. And what does that buyer have to do sometimes before they close on this? No. That's 4 possible commissions because you chose to work with flippers. If either of you are struggling right now with owner occupants, just relax and get yourself some flippers, okay? Because within that context, you will automatically get the owner-occupied business too. You follow what I'm saying? You'll get the listing here, which goes out to these folks here, so you get all that business, okay? Here's the other reason why I like flippers. So when we're flipping a home, is the home generally been recently remodeled? Yes. And really good investors, once they know what they're doing, that they do a pretty good job of letting us price them, once they know what they're doing, because they want a quick sale. And when you have a really nice property priced right, does it generally sell faster? So think about this. If you want to beef up your owner-occupied business, please work with some flippers because you'll have more of your signs go up with nice homes that sell faster for closest to list price. And what is our measurement criteria when it comes to consumers? Those 3 things. Is this making sense? Hey, write this down. Here's something you can write down to help remember this slide. Write this. My license is an income-producing asset. My license is an income-producing asset. Excuse me. Hey guys, is there another class coming here, a night class? CE, anything like that? Okay. If there's another a night class coming in. I mean, we're running a wee bit over. We're going to be okay, though. Okay, so my license is an income-producing asset that I will leverage to generate multiple streams to generate multiple streams of what? That's it. We're using up that whole pad today. Yeah, that's a good notes, didn't you? Okay, so my license is an income-producing asset that I will leverage to generate multiple streams of income. Here's the thing, guys. We already have our license, right? We just want you to think of it, think exponentially. So earlier I was talking about using Genevieve as the example. Instead of thinking linearly, think exponentially. How can you attract different sources of business to expand your business model so it's more sources of income? Also, if you had that, would you agree you'd probably have more cash flow, more commissions coming in? Would more commissions help right now? And so that's number 1. Number 2 is, would you learn more about investing by working with the investors? Right? So number 3, finally, all of us can get out there and do a lot more of our own investing. Can I get an amen? Not too bad for a Thursday afternoon. Well, here's the cool part. Is anybody here still getting their license? You still have to take the exam? Everybody's got their license? Well, think about it, guys. We're already out there. Bob's doing a double take, making sure.
It's Michael.
Oh, Mike, I'm sorry. What did I say? Why did I say Bob?
He said Bob.
Oh. Oh. Hey. Okay. There you go. So we already have our license, and we're already helping other people buy and sell not just their homes, but buy and sell investment properties. We're helping them build wealth and income. Does it make sense for us to help ourselves build wealth and income while we're at it? Okay, good. Would you like my help doing that? Okay, well, guess what we managed to do? We managed to finish in a second under 3 hours. Hey, so real quick, did you guys like the class material?
I love it. Yeah.
Okay, good. So the class material, and if you came late to the class material comes from a vendor. They provide the content for us to teach the material from. I'm a KW broker and a KW trained presenter. So we give you real content so you can actually see what it's like to do this. And if you like the content, you're probably going to like their program that they offer. But what I want to do is make sure if you want to hear about the program that you understand that's what I want to do next. This is a sort of a line of demarcation. So if you get what you came for, that's great. And it's a pleasure to meet you, and I'm glad for the opportunity to teach.
Hey, Gary, I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm definitely very super interested in the program.
Yeah.
However, I do go, but I mean, how long do you?
It probably would take me about 15 minutes. Yeah. And I just want to make sure I'm about right. Is anybody here, any ALC members? Any ALC members? Okay. Well, Michael's the only leadership person.
I'm agent on call,
Agent on call, okay. So,
She was just invited today.
and I just responded.
oh, cool. Okay. So I just wanted you guys to understand that this is, if you're interested in the vendor's program, I'm glad to show it to you. It's not an obligation. It's just something he asked me to do when I come teach a class once class is over. It's just our protocol. We don't let him in our market centers to do a big giant sales pitch. So you actually have to give us content. That way you can make an educated decision and you decide on your own. Does that sound fair? Is that okay, Michael? All right, cool. Oh, awesome. Well, it's really not. I wish I could say it was me. It's the content. Would you guys agree the stuff is pretty good? Yeah. Okay, so let's do this. Actually, here's a good question. How are you really serious about expanding your business model to include these investors? Is that a fair question?
Yeah.
All right, so let me just show you the program guide, though. And we should all give Gabby a big, giant hand when you see her, because she's the one that helped put all this together and made these program guides here. So a couple things while I'm handing this out. There's some real good benefits for doing this other than just the learning. The lady that runs this used to work for KW. She was a KW executive admin, and she now works for the vendor and runs the program. So I'm showing you her. I'm going to hand you 2 extra, if you can pass them back to, yes. Actually, I'm going to give one to Bob, Michael, excuse me. Now watch, your name's probably Robert Michael or something like that. You're very welcome. So you're going to, when you guys are in this program, you're going to notice,
Thank you.
you're very welcome, that a lot of this, the culture is a spot-on match for KW. It's because Beverly used to work for us, okay? And as a result of that, one of the benefits is if you do decide to do it, you can join together and save yourself some money. We do encourage team building in KW. In fact, raise your hand if you're on a team. Anybody on a team? So what's your first name, I'm sorry? Andrea. You can bring one person in per team. They keep it at 2 people per team. And you only pay for one program, but you can bring 2 people in. If you're not on a team, they do let you bring in a family member. They don't have to be licensed, okay? Now, why would we let you bring in a non-licensed person into a training program like this? What would be a benefit for KW?
Well, when you work with investors.
Just like Garrett, they might go and get their license. Yeah,
License and bring it to cap.
there you go.
Another thing to work with investors, you don't.
Well, you can, there's certain things that non-licensees can't do. And like, for example, if Garrett was not a licensee, he could do some of the background work for Genevieve, like the school report, let's see if you could do that behind the scenes.
Reports and run the data.
Exactly. Now, Going forward, though, here's what I want you to think about. I want you to think strategically. If you're thinking of bringing somebody with you, make sure it's something that's going to help you too. I mean, it shouldn't just help them, it should help you. In other words, if they do some number crunching for you on investments that for themselves to invest, you should use the same data to support your clients. Does that make sense? So think outside the box. Yes, ma'am.
Are these classes gonna go into a little bit more detail, like CCIM, where you're actually running the numbers?
Yeah. Yeah.
You can get invested, I mean, I can just, I can throw a stick and probably hit 100 people. I mean, you
Yeah.
can find investors easily.
Yes.
But to actually put it together.
Yes.
Okay.
So let me go over the program because you're spot on. So the cool thing about this is you're going to learn how to invest. In fact, if you look at my teacher's guide, these are the things you're going to learn, these calculators and spreadsheets. And we don't just give them to you, we actually walk you through it. It's guided training. You're going to learn examples.
CCIM class.
Not that advanced, because remember, we took commercial stuff down to the residential world, but we're not, the closest thing you'll see as far as high, you've probably seen this. This is called Opportunity Evaluator. So there's other forms, but this one we thought was the most advanced you would ever need in the residential world. I mean, would you agree this is kind of advanced?
Yeah,
Compare-
it's just a lot of the people that we
yeah.
deal with, they're used to this as well, and they'll have the spreadsheets, okay, and then
Yeah.
what's my cap rate, what's my ROI, what's my
Yes.
cash on cash, what's my this, that, what am I gonna get with? And if they
So we're going to teach them all that. Yeah, but where we draw the line, Genevieve, is, you ever heard the term future value of current cash flows?
Yeah,
Exactly.
your current value, future value.
Yeah, we're not really getting into all that. That's more advanced, but we are giving them cap rates, cash on cash returns, all that stuff. Internal rate of return, like this one here. So this one is an online, it's a financial person's calculator, but it gives you 5-year projections, the internal rates of return, ROI, the whole nine yards. That's kind of advanced too. I just don't want to scare these guys because I don't want them to think you got to be a genius to this. We're going to start you off. I appreciate you bringing it up though, because it does cover all that, but in the beginning, I'm just going to start them with this. Cash flow 101, right? And then you're going to go on to, does that make sense, guys? Start small, and then that's one of our things in KW is learn small and then grow big, okay? So let me go through this, and it might answer a lot of your questions, okay? Plus, I gotta help you get out of here on time. Okay, so real quick, here's who it's for. So we measured everything. If you know how we are, we measure every single thing we do. And in the development program, we also track what you're doing after a year's up. So the most common answer, once you've done this some work with investors, is I no longer care so much about open houses, night showings, cold calling, and door knocking. Anybody in that category besides me? Woohoo! Yeah, Michael, close your eyes. Well, the thing is, we use this for owner occupants. We just don't do it with investors, right? We do never door knock for investors, right? You do want the freedom of your license, right? But you also want steadier cash flow coming in, which you get when you expand your business to include the investors. More business-like relationships, more control over your schedule. And I got to tell you guys, this is critical. I mean, especially if you have children, this will allow you to be home more in meetings. Investors usually go out during the day, right? Investors normally go out during the day. I mean, they'll go out at night sometimes, but mostly during the day. Okay, obviously repeat clients and more commissions. If you're new to the business or new to the area, this is a great way to get up and running. I can promise you this, working on a duplex is no more complex than working on a single family home. In fact, it's probably easier. You don't have as much of that hand-holding stuff, okay? And the investors don't care where you came from. They don't care what language you speak. You know what the investors care about? All this stuff, right? You've invested before, right? Oh, somebody who's over here invested, had their hands up before? That's what they want. They want the tools, the information, the inventory. Okay, marketing is usually free or inexpensive. You only got to meet and educate the investors once. The right investors make their own decisions. We don't do that for them. We give them what they need, but they make the decision. Obviously, repeat clients and more referrals. And I got to tell you, this is a real departure. See, most agents are used to this down here. The people that say, just go find me a good deal. We're going to drive more of these folks to you, right? And not so much these guys down here. They're typically starting off, so they're new like you, but they have the business mind. You know what I mean? They look at things through business lens, okay? All right, real quick, here's the requirements. Okay, first requirement is time. So you're going to need about 2 hours a week for 6 weeks initially. 1 hour is on your time, 1 hour is with me. So raise your hand if you have about 2 hours you can devote for a 6-week period. 2 hours for 6 weeks. Okay, it's kind of important because if you don't have the time, right? Yes, sir. Oh, good. Oh, you got extra time. I just kidding. Any case, I don't have enough money. I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised at what, I'll just tell you, this costs $1,500 for the whole year. You can pay it off over time. You don't have to pay it all up front. And you can split that with somebody if you want. In any case, now is not a good time. I'm pretty sure Gary Keller set the record straight on that 4 years in a row. Don't know enough. Actually, that's a good one. Raise your hand if you'd like to know more first about investing. Well, you're going to get all the content on flipping, rentals, wholesaling, which we don't advocate, but we have to teach it because you're getting wholesalers calling you. Of course, property management, it's all in there. And I won't follow through. That's what this is we have a saying, which is we leave no man behind. It's from the Marines. Anybody know a Marine personally? Hear that phrase, we leave no man behind? You know what I mean, Phil? Not like those Air Force guys, right? They fly overhead. I'm just kidding. There you go. So here's how we do it. All right, if you look at your program guide, I want you to do one thing real quick, is on the left-hand margin, please write the 2 words, same time, same time. What I mean by that is all 3 of these parts begin at the same time, okay? All 3 parts begin at the same time. Part 1 is the learning part. This is where you do have to study about an hour a week. This is on your time, by the way, so that part's on your time, about an hour a week. You get audio, visual, and written material, all different formats. Now at this part, at this level, we do want to form study groups, okay? Actually, real quick, I'm just curious because we measure this. We have a tool called Broker Metrics. We can measure your performance and everything. Raise your hand if you've ever been in a study group before. High school, college, boot camp, Bible study. All right. If you were to do the program, raise your hand. Actually, raise your hand if you would like to be part of a study group for going through this training program. Yeah, I really encourage it. I can tell you, we measured that. The market centers that do group work, like have MAPS programs now that are group, always perform better. I would definitely do it. I would definitely be part of your study group. All right, this part is we all work together. This includes me personally, so I lead that. I lead that part of it. We do live weekly webinars, and you tell us what you want to cover. We go into it deeply. Like last night, we went into another calculator on a 3-unit building up in Canada. Okay. And you also share marketing here. In fact, raise your hand if you'd like to have a word version of this booklet made already, for engineers, for example. So we share our marketing campaigns, okay? And you get all original Word documents anyways. So we record that, get the recording the next day, and you can miss a couple and it doesn't matter. All right, the third part is probably the most important part, okay? Guess who your trainer is? Well, it's not. I hope I passed the know you like your stuff. But in any case, what we do here, guys, is when we roll this out, for the brand new agents, we did a beta test, and we added in the guidance, because new agents they're just new. And what we recognize is everybody was producing. So the vendor now gives a guarantee that you're going to produce. And what we do on here is we do strategy calls. So these are one-on-one. You actually get to work with me one-on-one. And we do something like this. Let me show this to you. I'm going to give you a quick lesson. Just write this in your notes. Go back to teaching for 60 seconds, okay? Draw a triangle in your notes, okay? And put an M in each corner, okay? This M is the market, the people you're serving. This M is the media, how you're communicating with them. So the booklet's a form of media. And this M is the message. This is what you're telling them, okay? What we do on these strategy calls is once I know who you are, what you're doing in your business, I'll help you figure out what marketing you should be doing. When we do the marketing, it's very targeted, highly targeted marketing. It's not broadcast marketing. And as such, we have to speak the right message to the right market using the right media. We call this alignment, okay? When you say the right things to the right people using the right media, would you agree you're probably going to have higher conversion rates? You will. It's called the marketing triangle. So that's the lesson. So back here, you get to work with me one-on-one until you're up and running, okay? Our commitment is you get three things up and running, and then you're good to go. Right, now, do you like the 3-part approach to the training? Self-study, group work, and then we work one-on-one. You guys okay so far?
Yeah.
All right, so part 1, okay, this learning part is made up of all of these modules. So if you flip your page open on this program guide, to the inside, you'll get to see all this up here, okay? The wording might be slightly different, but the content's the same. So module 1, we're going to, part of it we went over today. We're going to repeat part of that, okay? And which is really important, by the way, for those of you going to be doing this, that you form your study group, and we're going to start your study group next week, okay? Who's the study group people again? Like if you were to do it, you'd be part of a study group? Just real quick hands, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, good. And I'm going to help you pick somebody to lead that off, okay? We do this with every region we go to. We started this in the study groups in California 2 years ago. In any case, number 2 is all the how you learn how to invest. That's everything, the nuts and bolts of looking at rentals and flips and the whole 9 yards. Number 3 is all the legal stuff. Number 4 is all the marketing. Quite frankly, this is how you're going to, this is why all the other agents will be scratching their heads, wondering how you're doing what you're doing, because they're casting wide nets. And what kind of marketing are we doing? Target marketing. Hey, nice to meet you, by the way.
It was
Oh, thank you.
I really loved it.
Now, do you want me to?
My information is right there.
Okay.
I'm definitely interested.
All right. It might take me a little bit of time to call you because I got a 3 a.m. I got to get up at 3 a.m. to catch a flight. But before the day's out tomorrow, I'll call you. How about that?
No problem. I call Cecilia so she can tell me what happened.
Okay. Are you guys? Would you guys partner up if you did it together? I'll tell her all about the partner. Okay. All right. Number 5, if you could please write this down, is the objective for the program. And I kind of just told you this, is that you get 3 streams of income. So if you can please write that down on number 5, 3 streams. You determine which ones you want to do. I'm going to help you do them, okay? That way we know you're going to be okay when the shift actually hits, okay? Number 6 is all the financing. What we're doing is we're showing you what your investors are already doing. See, investors don't like FHA. Remember we talked about this earlier, the lending? So they'll do conventional commercial loans. They'll also do private partnerships, self-directed IRAs, things like that. We're literally showing you everything you need to help your clients succeed so they can do this, which means we make more commissions. I should definitely make this part of class. All right.
That's good. So we are going to do everything.
Absolutely. 1031 exchange. Yep. Airbnb, non-medical assisted living. That's the newest thing. Yep. In any case, who remembers a guy named Zig Ziglar? Passed away. Remember his famous thing, one of his famous things was, if we just help enough other people get what they want, we'll get plenty of what we want. We call it prosperity through service. Actually, write that down. Serve first and you shall prosper as a result. Okay? Help other people invest and you'll be able to do more investing yourself. Okay. Last one is tax strategies. You definitely want this, okay? Especially if you're already investing. Either way, this is a great stuffer for marketing. Like put this in your, like the booklet or the letter, it'll increase your response rates, okay? In any case, all of that makes up this part here, all right? This is group work, all of us together, okay? And this is us working one-on-one. So here's everything you're going to get. Obviously all the training, and by the way, when in this phase, development phase, it's carte blanche. You get literally everything. All the training material, all the calculators and spreadsheets. So Genevieve, they don't have to go out there and find these things. We just give them to them, and we demonstrate how to work them. All the marketing, of course, multiple streams of income, due diligence clauses, protect us and our clients, okay? Email support for the year, the weekly webinars, and the strategy sessions. What do you guys think? Did they do a pretty good job of building this platform? Okay, how many of you are thinking about this, by the way? Okay, good. All right, here's what we paid for it. When we did the pilot program, we had to pay $12,000. You don't have to pay anything close to that. And we broke ourselves into 3 groups. First group worked with flippers, one group worked with landlords, and the other group did their own investing. So the group worked with the flippers, by the way. The average flipper had flipped 4 homes that year, okay? So let's say we do this. We all get together, we do the training, and we each get a flipper, all right? And they flip 4 homes. And let's say, furthermore, we don't even get the end user. We don't get the avatar. We just get the investor sides. Your average transaction, when I wrote this down, is that right? 230-ish? The average sale price right now? Let's say it's 200. Jeez. Okay.
But yeah, here's
So let's say it's 2. And then at 3%, you're getting 6,000, right? 3% of 200,000, 6,000. So we would get 24,000. Now, if we were in Investor Club together, we pulled 12,000, would we invest that believing we would get 24,000 on the back end? And most people would take that bet, especially with these kind of tools and strategies. So what happened is when we rolled this out for the second beta test, which was the brand new agents, guess how many agents signed up for a $12,000 program? Yes, sir. So we had the vendor lower it down, and that's what they came up with. And again, you don't have to pay this. While we're helping to develop this, we're part of it. We get it for half of that. Right now, this stuff here is from the vendor. This isn't us. This is the vendor stuff. They want us to stay on board, after a year. They let us use their social media. You can actually repurpose it, put your name on it. Okay, they give you ownership rights. They give you $500 if you bring somebody in from another office, another brokerage company. Even if they don't join KW, you still keep $500. Okay, we're trying to help you build your downlines. All right, we do have referrals going back and forth using this site down here, which I'll explain in about a minute. You get a one-on-one with Beverly. She's the lady that runs the program. So when you first start, she's going to walk you through the exact things you do on day one. No guessing or assuming what you need. You're going to know exactly what to do. You can take it as often as you like, and for that whole year, they give us more stuff, like all the webinars. All those webinars they've recorded and housed on a database, cataloged by subject type, like Airbnb, 1031 exchange, all that. They give us access to that too, not just like reading or looking online. I mean ownership rights. We get to download these modules. That's over 260 modules right now, everything you could possibly imagine. Like the Learning 7 modules, this is the same length per module. I mean, I'd pay $3,000 for that, just knowing what I know. In any case, that's what they came up with. So if we paid for this, let me do this. If we paid for this, okay, Michael, close your ears again. If we pay for this for you, raise your hand if you would do the program because you do want to build your business model to include the investors. Like if you didn't have to pay for it, would you do the program? All right. Well, obviously there's cost of these things. So our cost is, this is the final build up. Actually, I'm not even done yet. That's actually not the entire screen. All right, hang on just one second, guys. I apologize. There's hey, I'm going to hand this out. Let me just hand this out. I'm going to have you handwrite in the right numbers on this form. This is what we get to pay for being in KW. Hang on, you're welcome. If you could hand one back. Thank you. And Jennifer, is that right? Oh, good. I remember it. Okay, good. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3. And if I'm going to give one to Michael, I'm just going to give you a complete set of anything that's here. So, and there you go. You're very welcome. 1, 2. I'm going to leave you 2 also, just to be safe. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay, let me go over these numbers here with you real quick, and then we can get back. I have to show you 2, 3 more pages. Okay, there's part missing here, so here's what I'm going to give you. If you could do me a favor, on your form, see where it says about 1/4 of the way down, please choose, and it says circle one, it's like in bold ink. Can you go ahead and just take your pens, cross through where it says option 1 is $29.97, cross through that, and handwrite in that number right there. That's what we pay. And this isn't like hey, do it now because it goes up tonight. We don't do that. It is what it is, okay? During the rollout phase. That's option 1. Option 2, which was not up here, that's what I've got to have you right in there. Option 2, where it says $35.97, if you could please cross through that and handwrite in $1,800. Okay, it's literally just half of what you're seeing on there. So the $1,800 is if you want to pay over time, it'll cost you more, about $300 more. And the way it's paid out is to the right where it says $597 down. If you could cross through that and handwrite in $300, that's all the deposit is if you do option 2. And then that 300 times 10, that's just $150. So that's it. So if you do option 2, it looks a little bit more, softer on your wallet, but it ends up costing you more over time. So actually, quick question. first off, everybody okay on the numbers? You got the right numbers written in there? Everybody okay? All right. If you were to do this, who would you, how many of you were thinking?
One transaction will take.
Probably a referral fee, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, we do encourage people to do it now while it's in development phase because it's the least expensive time to do it. Plus, you get the most access. When you're developing something, it's all, have you ever done the development program before? Oh, it's way, well, I don't know if it's going to match. That originally was a design, but then what happened is Diane Kokoska left with Ron Potolsky. Another lady's running it out of, I think she's in San Diego, Monica, Monique, or something like that. In any case, they've locked down.
Monica Reynolds.
Yeah, so they lock down things right now. So this vendor has the option to go the preferred vendor route. I'm hoping we make it internal, because I don't want, would you guys agree, we'd rather keep this in-house and not have it be out there for Remax and everybody else in the world? Now, if they come to our market centers, they can certainly take it. If you're not a KW person, I wouldn't even know it if you didn't tell me. But you can come to a KW office and be in the program even if you're not KW. But you have to come through the KW Market Center. In any case, here's what I want to ask you guys. If you were to do this, raise your hand if you would lean towards option 2, because it just looks easier. If you were to do it, would you lean towards option 2? Oh, good. Okay. So if you do, by the way, what I want to ask you is this. Would you please pay it off when you start cashing your checks? Does that sound fair? Okay. The reason is we want as many people in this as we can right now, because at the end of the December, that's the last part of the development phase. It's been going on for 5 years now, by the way. And they cap off the number of people they allow in the program. So each region has its own head count, and each market center has its own piece of that head count. I don't know what your head count is, but what I tell people is if you're going to do this, you turn in your form, okay? Grab yourself a spot on the roster. But if you do option 1, it does allow us to get more people in the program. The reason is generally the vendor, it costs them $400 per student on the platform. They got licensing fees and salaries and stuff like that, just like we do. So what we're asking is, because they go in the hole, they limit the number of people. Now, the lady that runs it used to be one of us. So they know us, they know we're going to produce. Like they trust us, they like us, they know we're going to produce. All right, let me move on here. I got a few more things to show you, and then I can stop and take questions. Everybody okay so far? How many of you are okay up until about 5 minutes ago? Hey, just relax. Apparently, we're all KW here, so just relax and be yourself. This vendor does guarantee their program 100%, not just the 6 weeks of learning, but literally the entire year. And they remove all the risk, okay? Let me say this for last. This is something you're going to get if you're in the program. So let me just say that for last, because some of you will and some of you won't. So let me show the next thing. Okay. Remember I told you the vendor wants us to stay on board when our year's up, so they tempt us with all this extra goodies. That's actually that middle paragraph. That's what this describes. So I'm going to just point out one thing. I'll leave the rest of this alone. They bought a license for a program called FreedomSoft that gives us cash buyers reports and private lenders reports. This is a report that shows you who's paying cash for properties in your area. Gives you their name and address and the addresses of the properties they bought. How many of you, raise your hand if you ever had a cash transaction before? Aren't they great? I mean, there's no mortgage, there's no appraisal, it's just fast and easy. And if you know the properties that they bought, can we do a better job of marketing to them? We can. We can build like the booklet and load that booklet full of properties like the ones they've already bought. That'll really get their attention. All right, private lenders report. This is the one where you see who's lending money privately. These aren't banks, they're private citizens, just like us. Well, surgeons, right? Shows you who they are and the properties that they finance. So if you have an investor who wants to move up, right, and buy an Aplex, and they've capped out their bank lending, you can run this report and see who's lending money on these kind of properties. And you match them up, and then you get your commission, okay? Okay, I'm going to go backwards and show you this slide now. So raise your hand if you're wanting to do that. You're thinking of doing this. I just want to get a rough idea. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 5. We had the vendor create a community site for us. It's think sort of like Zillow, but it's really for us investor agents. It's for mostly KW folks. You can network out here. You can put your properties on here to sell. And the benefit with that is down here in Houston, you don't have people here just in Houston buying. You've got investors from all over the United States and all over the world practically buying here. Well, now all these other investor agents will display your property to their investors. So you'll have no problem selling your investment properties. In any case, and you can send referrals back and forth. So you literally, I mean, Genevieve said it, one referral fee off of this will pay for your program. And that's just, you don't have to pay for it. That's part of what you get, okay? We do put investors on here too, but only when they come through their other training. They have to take either flipping or renting or something like that. But here, this is important. When the investor finds us though, when the investor finds us directly, what did we not have to pay for that commission? Yeah, no referral fee. You get the whole commission yourself. You guys like this? I mean, that's just part of, I mean, there's no, you have to be in the program or pass through to be on here.
How does this compare,
Yeah.
because all these different investors that go to these huge,
Mhm.
like there was just one little happy hour,
Yeah.
100 people that go to that,
Yeah.
and all the vendors at the table.
We don't, these guys, this is a learning-based company, they're sales-based, so this is an education-based company. Actually, the design came from a professor, it's called progression-based learning. Remember the slide that had the first three main parts? It's called progression-based learning. So just know this, their motive is to educate you so that you produce. In fact, they guarantee it. And you can't go wrong, you're going to produce no matter what. But what they're not doing is, this, what you see is what you get, guys. This is not one of those, you go in and then 3 months later, you got to do the next thing. And then the next thing you know, you're spending $50,000 with A. Merrill or some other. That's not what this is. This is strictly education-based. It's designed to fit in with their culture and to get you in the game swinging the bat with the right people and not have to spend a fortune doing it. Thanks for the question, by the way. Very much different, yeah.
Well, I
So,
mean, you have to look, what are your competitors doing?
yeah.
Selling a product is what you're doing.
Training program,
Well,
yeah.
yeah, well, with
Yeah.
the product.
Yeah.
But Keller Williams has the best training program.
We do.
out there.
Yep.
So that's why I'm saying how
Yeah.
does your product differ from this product? The
I'd
advantages-
yeah.
In this case, they're just getting a lot more tools,
Yeah.
FaceTime, because I can
Yeah.
tell, and that way that helps me to speak intelligently to these people.
Yes.
And a lot of the investors that I go to, a lot of them don't know about the jet lady, they don't go to these big
Right.
groups.
Yeah, what we want you guys to do is simply just get in the game, swinging the bat with the right kind of investors, right? So you may be down here, and that's okay, just start where you are, all right? All this other stuff you're going to learn, but for one thing, we don't really advocate hard money lending. We don't advocate it. I know people do it, but it's called hard money for a reason. The points are higher, the interest rates are higher, the terms are shorter, and it's painful if you don't make it in time. They give you one get out of jail free card, and they'll come take your property, okay? We would rather you do the program, build up commission income so you look better to the lender so you can get a better loan at 4%, right? Does this make sense, guys? Yeah. Right, I know this sounds conservative, but I tell you what, man, I'd rather have you build a solid foundation the right way the first time than take all these shortcuts. Matter of fact, I can tell you this. Here's what I learned. This stuff down here, remember I was showing you this? It looked like the easy way, right? Because you don't have to have cash or credit. It ended up being the long, hard way. And what looked like the long, hard way ended up being the right way. Right? I should probably make that a quote. That sounded pretty good. Hey, if you guys don't mind, I'm doing okay here, but I want to have you guys ask questions, okay? Before I do, real quick, I need to keep thinking of things to tell you. All right, if you're thinking of doing this jointly with somebody, all you have to do is, over here in this white space, is add the other person's name. That's all you got to do. You don't even have to know who they are right now, okay? The other thing is this, is I do have to scan these from our Market Center machine. I can't take them to Kinko's and stuff like that. The merchant accounts are very strict. And by the way, the vendors, while they're doing this, KW has input on what merchant accounts they use. So this one doesn't allow us to do faxes and stuff like that. It's because to protect your information. So what I do is I number them as I get them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, okay? Oh, one more thing. What's your Market Center ID? Anybody? 10? Could you please write MC10 in the upper right-hand corner of your form? And if you're from another Market Center, please write that Market Center ID, okay? What they're looking for is they're tracking where people are coming from, and when I fax it from this machine, they're going to match it up with Market Center 10, okay? And if you're with some other Market Center, they'll know you came from whatever. But that's what I do. So if you're thinking of doing this, I'd be glad to have you on board. You actually get I'm fully committed. I just asked that if you're going to be doing this, that you are fully committed to. Doesn't take a lot of time during the learning phase, but it does take a little bit of commitment, right? Hey, real quick, guys, I need to give you my cell phone number because this is what we use when we do the strategy calls. So if you're going to be in the program, please write this down on something like your program guide, so it's something you keep. Don't write it on your application, because I'm going to be taking that from you. All right, so if you're going to be in the program, this is what you want to write down, okay? It's area code 412. Area code 412. Number is 680 3618. And I'm going to turn it off of airplane mode now. So 412-680-3618. So for those of you who are thinking of doing this, could you just kind of come up a little bit closer? I just want to sit and talk to you for about 5 minutes, just to give you some things to think about, okay? And questions to ask yourself. Also, my dogs are barking. Would you all mind terribly if I just sat in a chair? Okay, good. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Yeah. Well, for example, that workshop I showed you, that's going to grow into a bigger event, and you will definitely have them joint venture together. It's just going to happen, and we joint venture with them. Okay. Now, whenever a client approaches me and says, "Would you contribute your commission or make you part owner?" I say no. I don't want to muddle the waters. I don't know how Mike feels about this, but my feeling is this should be completely separate, okay? My involvement as an investor should be separate from my involvement as an agent, okay? Now, when they join together, though, Patricia, you get the commission, right? If say, Carlos and Nick join together on buying a property because they met at your workshop, yes, you would get that bigger commission. I would consider it, but what I would do is I would simply make an introduction, and I always tell them, see, now you're getting into a different body of law, and I would tell them you need to do your due diligence on each other, right, and screen each other and interview each other and things like that. I'm not teaching you how to do syndications and stuff like that. You can certainly learn how to do that, and I can teach you, but in this program, it's more just getting you in the game. Hey guys, real quick, if you would like to do it, and you would like to do it with someone else to save yourself some money, raise your hand there. If you can save yourself, cut it in half to $750. I would look around the room and see who you want to partner up with. Because my intention is we want to support team building. And I'm telling you, it really doesn't matter if you're on a team right now. I mean, we want you to work together on these techniques. So I would look around and see who you want to partner with, okay? And save yourself, because you're going to get both access to the material. And who knows, you might actually do something like the workshop together. So, sound good? Patricia, any more questions? Yeah. Did I help? Did that one? Okay. And guys, I can stay. I'm done other than I got a dinner date in about an hour. But other than that, I mean, I can stay a little bit longer. If you got questions on stuff, now's the time to hit me up. I do want to collect these if you're thinking of doing it. Please, you got to raise your hand and let me know. And you know why?
Okay, can I take it home?
Yeah, here's what I would suggest. When it's a rollout phase like this, whatever spots you guys don't take, the next market center gets your spots. It's through the region. So what I tell people is, if you're, do you know what your disc profile is? You're like you have some S in your profile, your disc profile. We give it to you for free, so you should do that. Here's what I would suggest. What's your first name again? Pat. Well, let me take everybody. So how many of you are going to be doing this? Like, you're pretty sure you're going to be doing it. All right, let me take care of them, and if you want to, I'll stay an extra 5 minutes to talk to you. How about that? The reason is oh no, that's okay. We want you to, like, if you're married, talk to your spouse, things like that. But here's what I'm going to tell you. Turn in your form and just put up top, Beverly, please hold. You can leave that part blank if you want. Yeah. Michael, nice to meet you. Thanks. Okay. Forevermore, you'll be known as Bob. So what I recommend is when you're kind of new or you just want to think more about it, but you want to hold a spot, because I have to scan these, and then they'll know I'm holding your spot, and you and I can talk like sometime tomorrow or something like that. Anything, the address, at least that part, you don't have to put the credit card if you don't want to. Yeah, and remember, the lady that runs this, she used to work for us, she's not going to do it. You're in good hands. You don't have to worry about, yes, ma'am. Sure, nice to
more
meet you.
interested in doing it for myself.
Yep,
So will this walk me through it for myself? If it's
Absolutely.
me and my sister is interested?
Yeah, we've had
But
teams where,
that's
like-
what I was hearing you say, don't want to start at the bottom, but that's when we would have to.
that's where we are, that's where I was, yeah.
Yeah.
So we've had teams where like the mom was in Sarasota, Florida, and the daughter was in LA, and the daughter wasn't licensed, so if she's not licensed, that's okay.
She's not licensed.
Let me turn this, yeah.
No, I'm